traveling the Vortex.
We need a Santa Claus on Mars.
SANTACLAUS, hooray for Santa Claus! You spell it SANTACLAUS, hooray for Santa Claus! Hooray for Santa Claus! Yay, yay for Santa Claus! He's fat and round, but jumping Jiminy. He can climb down any chimney. When we hear sleigh bells ring, our hearts go ting-a-ling. 'Cause there'll be presents under the tree. Hooray for Santa Claus! Now all year long at the North Pole, he's busy making toys. 'Cause he knows just what you're doing, so you better be good girls and boys. Hang up that mistletoe, soon you'll hear ho ho ho. On Christmas Day you'll wake up and you'll say, hooray for Santa Claus!
We've joined the Doctor as he travels the Vortex and landed lately at episode 209. And if the Doctor thinks Alien is offensive, just wait till he sees Batman and Robin. I'm Keith.
I'm Sean.
I'm Glenn.
How are you guys?
Stupid
Late.
helmet regulator.
Did you guys have a Merry Christmas?
I did have a Merry Christmas.
A Whovian Christmas?
We should apologize. Sean got the TARDIS lost in the Vortex again, so unfortunately we're coming to you way later than we ever
way
have.
later
But-
than ever.
But at least
And
we're not 2 weeks late with cold coffee.
That's true. We're doing better than the Doctor.
See? It's all in perspective.
It's all in perspective. Thanks, Keith. I feel a lot better now.
In a
Keith.
certain point of view.
A certain point of view. We had Christmas and everything was rosy and merry, and then I got sick and it wasn't so much.
Me too.
And
Although
then
I didn't
was on
have the
morning
stomach
shift.
stuff that you had.
No, that was.
I had all the head cold and congestion and couldn't breathe. And
In your morning
Keith
schedule.
was banned
Yeah,
to the morning,
I was
which might be worse than being
midnight,
sick
so.
sometimes.
Yeah.
So my apologies to all of our listeners who've kind of been going through withdrawals this week, going, when are they going to record? When they're going to record? And Glenn...
You're giving us a lot of credit there that people would actually be going through withdrawals.
Twitch. Glenn, to his credit, did offer. He says, we haven't missed a week. We could call the game on account of rain, and I really didn't want to be the one to cause that. So I said, well, I'll leave that up to you guys. You don't want to come over and get this, though.
What didn't occur to me...
Luckily, I had Friday off.
Yeah, it didn't occur to me that he was off tomorrow. So when I thought we were going to have to push it all the way, I thought it was
At that
because he was
point,
at
yeah.
work,
It would have been, if I had worked Friday, we would have had to push it all the way. Luckily, I only had to work 4 days this week. Yay. First day of vacation of the year.
Yay.
It's not actually a vacation day, though.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it is? Oh, you
Yeah.
took the actual day off.
Because it's vacation time. Otherwise, he would have had me come back and work my normal shift on
See, and
Friday.
it's silly. They should just give you the day off because you worked
Yeah, but I
a
don't.
holiday.
I wouldn't,
so.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have balanced out fine.
Yeah, I mean,
well.
although you got time and now this is
I
actually
still
works
have
in your favor
double
because you
time.
got time and a half yesterday, and double. We get
Double
paid,
time.
double time. So you got paid, twice as much yesterday, and you get your vacation
Yeah,
day,
so
and be off. So
it works well.
So some of us going to like to store up that vacation time to use late in the year. You're like, when are you going to use your
I
first
can't-
vacation day, Keith? January 1.
2, technically. January 2.
we're not allowed to stores or anyway. We're supposed to
Yeah.
take, we're supposed to take every quarter. So
Well, and we have
That's
4
true, you
months
guys
out
have
of the
that word.
year we can't take vacation days.
Right.
Because of the sweeps.
And then they,
Right.
if you save it all for the end of the year, you're not going to get it.
I think I counted up, and you only have about 40-day window to take all of your vacation. And for somebody
And-
like me that has 20 days of vacation, well,
Yeah.
22 with my personal days,
And I've got
it's
15
really hard
days
to,
of vacation
really
now.
hard to
So
squeeze it in there.
Well,
You have
this
17.
past-
You have 17 technically.
Oh, yeah.
because you get
I don't-
your 3 weeks, and then you get 2
2
personal
weeks.
days.
Man, I'm
Oh,
going to
yeah,
come work
that's
for
right.
you guys. You got any openings?
Yes, actually.
You get two work weeks, or 3. You get 3 work.
I get
weeks.
3 work
yeah,
weeks,
5,
yeah.
5, and 5.
Yeah.
15,
And then 2 personal
two
days.
God, we'd never get any time off if we... See the time off request for now. We all need off. Like, no, not happening. I think I'm going to be sick.
Yeah, but Keith and I have been at our jobs for a long time, so
That's true.
kind of earned them.
5 years got me up to 3 weeks. And last year I was just burning them when I could. Took a week off and rearranged for no reason.
It's hard to squeeze him in there. Well, and that's the other thing is he can't be off when I'm off. I can't be off when he's off. And so it just really
and
limits.
there's another guy, if he's off, I can't be off. So
I'm serious. There's literally 42 days that we can get it in because once you account all of the sweeps months and you have to cut ours in half because of what's left because we can't be off at the same time.
And the other guy has even more. I think he's maxed out on his vacation days.
I'm maxed out on mine too.
But yeah, if he's off, I can't take off.
Well, it's the same with
he's
Matt and I.
producing the show.
If he's got a day off, I can't be off, and if I'm off, he can't be off. So.
Am I the other guy?
No, Bob.
Oh yeah. Well,
although
technically Bob can't be off on a day that we're off either. So
yeah.
And he's maxed out. He's got as many as I do.
If he's off, I can't take off. So
yeah, he's got as many off as I do.
Although if he's off, you can't take off.
Technically, I'm not supposed to, but now that we have Rod there, I think they kind of fudge it.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about our vacation.
Nobody cares about your vacation. Anyway, and thank goodness that Keith had a vacation day because it allowed us to record today. And we're coming to Happy New Year to everybody while we're at it. And
2015.
Yeah, it's our first podcast of the new year.
First podcast of the new year.
We are recording on New Year's Day, the first day of 2015.
We just got to be driving you a little batty that we're recording our Christmas episode on
well, we were
New Year's
going to
Day.
be doing it 2-3 days afterwards anyway. Yeah, 3 days afterwards anyway. So I'd already came to peace with that.
Okay.
Yeah, made my peace.
Had the whole year to look at that schedule.
I
And
did.
Twitch.
I don't think we've ever recorded a Christmas. We've never reviewed a Christmas special after or before Christmas. Or not before,
Well, no, because they don't air
before or
until
on.
Christmas.
Well, that's what I meant. Anywhere close, it's always been after.
I'm good with the TARDIS. I'm not that good.
It's always been the weekend after. Well, we had a Christmas special though that we released. That was our Christmas special.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's true.
hopefully everybody enjoyed
Which
that.
this week we went forward in time and watched that Doctor Who special and came back in time so that we
To
could tell you
spoil
about
it
it
all.
beforehand. So don't listen. How was your Christmas?
It was good. It was nice. I actually got the day off. Unfortunately, there's another thing with work is if Keith's off one Christmas, I work, and if I'm off Christmas, he works.
Luckily, I got Christmas
You got
Eve
Christmas
off.
Eve off. And so then, so my family came up. My dad's family every year gets together, and so this year we were able to participate. Everybody came to our house to open gifts, and because my parents live also in town, we all up and moved over to their house for dinner or for lunch. So that was the nice thing because our house could be set up for presents because we both have houses that are. Well, we had 30-some people,
Right.
Yeah.
and
that's
our
a lot of
houses are
people.
not conducive to 30-some people, and so. Usually, when you have Christmas, you have to like move everybody out of the outside or into another room while you set up to get tables set up because you got to have enough places for people to sit. The nice thing is, my parents already had that set up at their house, so all we had to do is just kind of transplant and take some chairs over, and we were good to go. So it worked out really well this year. This is like the second or third year we've done that. So that was it.
You get any Who stuff?
I did. I didn't get much. I'll talk about what I got today because we just opened our gifts from each other because we hadn't seen each other since before Christmas. But I got. Oh, okay. So Christmas night is actually when we just did our family, like my folks, my sister, her 2 kids, and Holly and me, and the kids. And so we waited until Christmas night to do that. So I didn't get anything. I got I got a gift card from John, which that will go to Doctor Who stuff. So John technically got me Doctor
Might as well be
Yeah. But
that John Boy.
John Boy, yes.
Merry
And-
Christmas, John Boy.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, John Boy. By the way. And so that night, I hadn't got anything Doctor Who yet. So that night, I was like, okay, my mom usually gives me some Doctor Who. So I'm opening gifts. No Doctor Who. Not Doctor Who. So I get this one gift, and I look at it. It's for my sister. And so I open it up. It's Doctor Who: The Vault.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
So I
very
got
cool.
it. So I was
I'm so
so
glad-
excited. I was like, this is great. I've been wanting this all year ever since I saw it come out last year. And I said, Keith's got one, and Sean's got one. And I was lamenting the fact that I didn't have one. And now I have one. And I was like, yay! So they give me another gift, and I open it up. It's for my mom and dad. Doctor Who: The Vault! So, at one point this week, I had more than you guys have. But my mom had the receipt, so I took that back. And I was going to trade it for. It was from Barnes & Noble, so she had the receipt to Barnes & Noble. So I was going to trade it for. I was just going to couple Doctor Who DVDs.
Did the reaction on your mom's face go from this?
No, she goes. She did the.
To the-
Well, it was kind of chaotic because we were all kind of opening stuff, and she saw me open that, but she didn't register until they were giving me the other gifts. She goes, "Wait a minute, who was the Doctor Who book from?" And I went, "Karen," and she goes, "Oh." And I went, "Oh, I bet I guess what this is." But I took it back to Barnes Noble, and I was going to get two Doctor Who DVDs because I was going to get a couple of DVDs for that. And then it occurred to me that if I just wait, they'll do the 50% off of British titles. And I thought, I don't have to spend this right away. I can get twice as many.
4 of them.
Exactly. So the other thing that I might do with it instead, if I can't wait for the 50% off, is I'll probably go and buy. I didn't get Series 8
Yeah.
so I'll probably buy it and just spend a couple what is it,
I was so
$10, $20
pleased when
for
I
it.
saw your picture of it because I thought about getting it for you after you were so enamored with my copy or with Sean's copy, and ended up not. So I'm glad I didn't get it for you
then I'd
because
had
you were free.
that was it. No, I got
Best Christmas ever. 3 copies of this book in case they want to read it more than once.
You can have it in different rooms.
This is how this.
Just
Here's how this
remember what
Christmas
page
has
you're on.
worked out.
One on the
My
coffee
mom-
table, one in the bathroom.
My mom got me the Vault, which I had to take back because it was a double, and then she got me a Fitbit bracelet for with the watch. I mean, it's the really high tech,
nice.
expensive one because that's my New Year's resolution, which started today, is to lose weight, to get back down at least the 30 pounds I lost last year that I gained all the way back, and track all that progress and get in better shape. And so I take this thing out, and I'm all excited about, if I get this Fitbit, and it's a large. Well, look at my wrists. The irony of it is it doesn't fit, but it's not because my wrists are. Well, it's not because of fat on my wrist, but I have no wrists, so they just kind of go right into my arms. If you notice, I don't have much of an indentation, so I need an extra large. So I couldn't even use that. I went to Best Buy to look and see if they had extra large, and they don't. But my mom found out that she'll take it back and they'll order me a new one. So I don't have that yet. And then the other thing I opened up was the Apple Magic Mouse, the really nice mouse that you've got that I was so excited for because I've wanted one of these. Because it's a great mouse because if you don't know, it's wireless for one thing, but it also, a regular mouse that you plug in has the track wheel and the left and right.
Yeah.
Well, Macs don't do that. They have a track pad, and everything's two fingers for right click, 1 finger for left click, or I've got that backwards.
It's got a special
Yeah.
setup.
Anyway, there's a certain way you do it, and I'm so used to my trackpad. And you swipe up to swipe things down. You swipe. It's kind of that airplane yoke backwards thing. Back is up and forward is down, and so it's.
Which sounded really weird until the first time I did it, and it was like, yeah, this makes sense.
It's totally natural,
You know,
especially if you've been using
if you do this, the
yeah.
Well, just like a touchpad.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just like
Yeah.
a touchpad. Just
Yeah.
the exact same concept. And I'm so used to that. In fact, it drives me crazy because, I use a PC at work, and so every once in a while I find myself pushing the scroll wheel the wrong way. And so anyway, so I got that. It's something I can play with. I finally got some. Went home, fired up my PC, or my PC, no. I fired up my Mac, and it wouldn't start. I was like, what's going on? And I finally got it started, and it gave me a graphic card error, and it was doing all things and wigging out, and I was like, oh. So I thought, I got to take this to the Mac store, and so I can't use my mouse because I'll be springboard into that story real quick because this doesn't have anything to do with Christmas. But since I'm there, I had to take my Mac. Well, I called the computer store, the computer repair place in Topeka that worked on my Mac last time that replaced my Logic board, and they do not service Apple computers anymore. And I said, okay, so who in town does? Nobody. You have to take it to Kansas City. This was only like 6 months ago that I was down last time, and they fixed it. So the kids and I piled in the car on Monday morning, drove over to Kansas City, dropped it off. They looked at it, and they're going to actually. They have to now. Well, the nice thing was he said, "Do you want to pick it up? Or you want to ship it to you?" And I said, "You can ship it to me?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Is that free because of the Apple Care?" And he said, "Yeah, we'll take care of it." I was like, "You're shipping it to me because I'm driving back over here to pick the thing up." Although as Keith we were talking a little bit before the show. He said it'd probably be faster to go pick it up than wait for it to ship. But anyway, so I'm computerless this week, all week long, and so I'm waiting for that to come back. And then the other thing is that we got the kids tablets for computer tablets for Christmas, and Caitlin Mason charged it up, work, no problem, ran it all day, loved it. Caitlin charged it all the way up, ran down right away. I'm like, what? So we plugged it back in, and charged it all the way full again, and she unplugged it, tried to do something with it, and it acts like it can't even connect to the battery.
Huh.
So the poor girl, I had to go to Best Buy, which had 10 of these things when I picked them up the week before Christmas. I get there to exchange it, which they're going to exchange it, no problem. We're out of them. Oh my gosh. So poor Caitlin. Little Mason's got his tablet he's been playing with all week, and Caitlin's waiting for hers to come in the mail because they had to ship one to us. So yeah, it didn't make Christmas bad, but it's one of those things that's like you get all this new toys. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, oh, we can't do anything with our stuff we got. So anyway, that was
I was warned the parents, all the parents all month long that have been coming in picking up new game systems for the kids, and they're like, well, it's got this and it's got this, and it's like, yeah, and okay, is this what you want? Yeah, okay. And I was telling them, I was like, all right, now here's the deal. We guarantee everything we sell. Do yourself a favor. Take it home and plug it all in after the kid goes to bed, and make sure that it works. And they look at me like I'm nuts, and it's like, trust me, you don't want them to open this up Christmas morning and find out something really doesn't work on it.
And we tested a box of rocks or a couple of Bibles.
We tested it when it came in, and it was okay. But I want to make sure that Christmas morning there are no disappointed children.
Well, that's what I was kicking myself this year. Is I should have plugged them in beforehand, had them charged so they could play. Because poor Mason, he was jonesing to play his, but we had to plug it in because you have to plug it in for 8 hours the first time.
Oh, really?
That's a long charge.
That's a long charge. Well, I guess it comes with a completely dead battery or something. You have to charge it all the way up.
It had charge on it, but the instructions said, and I've had electronics before, where if you don't do it the way it tells you, they won't exchange it if something goes wrong. I mean, you avoid the warranty if you don't follow the directions.
Yeah.
And the directions this one said give it a full 8-hour charge. It probably didn't need a full 8-hour charge, but I wasn't going to chance it. I told him, I said, we're going to charge it for 8 hours, what the directions say. That way, because it's a lot of batteries have a memory too. I don't think they do.
They don't much anymore,
they
but
used to
because
that's still kind of
the lithium?
Lithium ion
doesn't do that.
Yeah, right. They don't.
But the old ones used to do that, where it had that memory cell that you had to charge it all the way up, or you had to deplete it all the way.
No, you have to charge it all the way because it will only run down to the point you started charging it
right.
If you don't.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Cell phones used to do that.
They don't. I don't.
But the lithiums are.
And it might be a holdover, but I thought, you know what? We're going to be on the safe side. To be on the safe side, I want to avoid any warranties because I didn't plug this in and charge it for 8 hours. So.
My sister got my mom a tablet, and I charged it for her in advance before I wrapped it and put it under the tree. So I thought about that.
The hamster wheel. I charged it for her. She doesn't know how to. Oh, you charge it ahead of time?
Ahead of time before I wrapped it and put it under the tree.
That makes total sense now because I charge it for her. It's like, wow, and I thought Sean was like technological Neanderthal.
Oh my! Had this
as many questions as she had about it.
Oh well, yeah,
I had
that's
that
age. But if you tell me that she doesn't know how to charge it, I'm going, okay. There's something wrong.
Had the whole discussion with my mother this week, trying to. Where's this photo you told me to look at? It's on Facebook. No, I can't find it. We'll go here. It shows this. You're in the wrong thing, Mom. On and on and on. And I'm just, oh my God. And so she does this, and she okay, well, send it to me. So we wound up physically texting her a copy of this picture because she couldn't find it. She calls me right back and she goes, why does it say that you're not on my friends list? Did you unfriend me? I was like, no. She goes, you're not in my friends. And I went and looked, and I'm in her. She's in my friends list, but I'm not in her. She unfriended me. It's like, how did you do that, Mom? I don't know. I think you must have. I was like, I guarantee you I didn't do it, Mom, because you're still showing up in mine.
She could still go on and log on. Her password hadn't been changed.
No.
Okay.
No, she just.
You know, that's one thing that you look for is if you've been hacked by somebody, if your account's been hacked, if the closest relation to you on a social media site are gone off of a list, start checking or change your password, because a lot of times what the hackers will do is they'll unfriend people so that they don't notice that there's been some unusual activity on their account. Because if your mom's posting something from men.com, then you're gonna there's a red flag. So you're going to say, "Hey, Mom, I think you've been hacked," and it's going to shut it down sooner than
I don't know. My mom might post something from that.
Well, yeah. And the other thing that you want to do is also they're not changing the passwords right away. They're using the account with that password and then waiting, and then down the line before you figure out that you've been hacked, then they change that password.
Yeah.
So
I'll have her double check.
One of the things you should check is if she might have accidentally.
I think she probably just accidentally did it.
But
then after we got that, she goes, "Oh, look, you accepted my friend request. And I was like, yeah, well, I was already your friend, but okay. So that after that whole debacle, she goes, oh, hey, there's that picture. Oh, that's really cool. I was like, yeah, I know. Thanks, Mom. It's just...
Oh, so, okay, sorry. We had a little bit of a technical glitch again there. You probably heard. Chipmunk voice followed by echoing. And now we've determined that because we're not recording on my Mac this week, it must be a GarageBand thing because
weird
this is
glitch.
a completely different computer. So, anyway,
so that conversation you hope to never have with your mother. Not that one, the other one.
The other one.
The technical one.
Mom, why'd you post on men.com?
was
I'm
yours-
being very nice by saying that, too, because I could have come up with any other website.
Yeah.
How was yours, Keith?
Our
What'd you
Christmas
get?
was good. My cousin came back from Kentucky, so we got to see her and her boyfriend Dustin, and they brought their little dog Archie, and so we got...
That's right, you have a cousin in Kentucky.
Yeah, my sis...
Oh,
my
then it's you and your little dog, too.
Archie is such a cute little dog.
It's cute.
He's the one that I posted the picture of that was playing Cards Against Humanity,
Oh, yeah.
which was fun. We did that on Saturday, that game is a lot of fun. I think we should all play it together sometime. But
I heard it's evil.
it's an evil version of apples versus apples.
Oh, okay.
Apples to apples.
Great.
It's
I hate apples to apples.
It's an evil version of that. It's
I
hilarious.
hate subjective games. That's just...
You got to know your audience.
There's no strat. That's the problem. Is
Which-
the worst
and
is
there's
I
really-
went to a party
Like movies that
when I
make you
didn't know
cry.
anybody
Terminator 2.
there. I didn't know anybody there, and I knew I was going to lose apples to apples because nobody knows me.
Yeah, it's one of those games where there's really no
There's no
objective.
skill to that.
There's no point of okay, you won. It's you ran out of cards. Okay, we're done.
At least with Cards Against Humanity, there's a lot of humor there.
Yeah, there is a lot of humor there.
There's a Doctor Who version, too. We could put that on the next Fun with Games schedule.
Fun with games.
Fun with Games.
But my sister,
Although the
recently
Cards
got a
Against
dog,
Humanity
too.
version might have to have a parental warning,
Censor?
from what I
It is,
understand.
yeah.
So
So we got all the dogs because my mom has a dog, little monkeys with squeakers in them. Max, my mom's dog, just starts ripping into it. Come into Christmas Eve, doesn't have a face.
I thought you were going to say the only thing that was left was the squeaker.
But Archie, this is the only dog. All my other previous dogs kind of just ripped into him and didn't play with him like I imagined they would. Archie was the first dog I noticed that actually played with the stuffed animal with the squeaker like I expected. It bite it and squeak, 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 squeak. And we were trying to web chat with my sister, and all she could hear was squeak, 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 squeak.
Oh, your sister didn't make it back?
No, she didn't. So we web chatted with her though.
Yeah.
So.
That's always the
And
next
luckily,
best thing.
with the stepping up of equipment for my mom, it was much less of an ordeal of got to take the TV from the bedroom and I got to bring over my router. She already had a router. All we had to do was bring over the
you
laptop.
got her upgraded this year, didn't you?
So
That's
you
right.
planned that out ahead of time, didn't you?
Good job, Keith.
She had an HDMI cable. All we had to do was bring the laptop, which was nice. Got a lot of Who stuff.
You were posting pictures left and right.
No, I did a few. I think I did 2 batches.
It just seemed like every picture you posted was
I
like,
think-
oh, Keith's got more Who stuff.
I think I only posted Who stuff, but I also
I'm glad I didn't get him.
what you started at my birthday, everyone else finished with the Planet of the Apes graphic novels.
Oh,
I have
really?
all the way up through volume 5 now, and then there's another set.
Sweet, I'm a trendsetter.
Good job there, Sean.
And because of you, I discovered that there's other ones that actually take place 8 years before the first film that feature Cornelius and Zeus, and the art in that is really cool. I'll have to bring that so you guys can see that. And that's 3 volumes. So now I'm close to getting all the Planet of the Apes collections. But I got Happiness Patrol, not Mind of Evil. I don't know, The Mind Robber.
Yeah. You had mind in the title.
I knew I had Mind.
You didn't have Mind. You posted that, and I thought you had Mind Robber
I
already.
did not have Mind Robber, just
That's
on Netflix.
weird.
I had to borrow it from you to let my mom borrow it.
Oh, that's right, you did.
Deadly Assassin, along with Enemy of the World, Sontaran Experiments, the 11th Dr. Potato Head, New Pajama Pants, and a couple of books, including Engines of War. So now I don't have to worry
I'm
about-
jealous about.
And
I bought the Kindle version, so.
ironically, the volume of all 12 ebooks.
Oh,
which I didn't know was out already.
yeah. Oh,
Well, that was very
I
exciting.
think I did know that, but somebody had posted that they got it prior.
I think
to
I saw
Christmas.
Reese.
Yeah,
post
it was
it,
Reese. Yeah,
and
I think it was prior. Well, it would have
it
been
would
prior
have
to
been prior
Christmas.
to our Christmas.
His Christmas was darn near 24 hours before
Yeah.
us. Not that many, but 16 at least.
He's always first. He
Yeah.
beats us
He
to
is.
everything.
He posted the other night, New Year's Eve, that he'd gone for a walk and was getting ready to ring in the new year, and I was like, oh yeah, I guess that's almost time for you. I was responding to him here at 2 a.m. in the morning the previous day. Well, it was still the same day, but it was 8 o'clock for him, and it was going to be New Year's in like 3.5 hours. And it wasn't going to be New Year's for like another 16 or 17 hours for me. And so it was weird. I said,
Wow.
So I said, well, Happy New Year, going to make it first. And he said, I'll let you know what it looks like from the other side.
Speaking of,
Oh yes,
that came out this week.
What is it?
the
Don't show me. Tell me.
sorry, it's the Star Trek Planet of the Apes crossover graphic comic book. Have you read it yet?
I have not read it yet.
It's interesting.
IDW?
IDW.
I figured our friends at IDW had provided you, but I thought you might like a
did.
physical.
Oh,
So
yeah,
that is for
oh,
you. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yes. It occurred to me when I saw it on Facebook that it was coming out, so I went to look to see if they provided us one, and they did. But I'm very pleased.
Oh, we have a review copy?
We have.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
It's in my Dropbox.
Oh, okay, good. Well, then I get to read it.
Then
Yes.
you can read it too.
It's very neat.
I didn't think you'd care so much about a physical copy because
Yeah,
you,
no.
you were getting a review
Mine's
copy
all,
of it.
mine's all digital.
Since it was apes related, I thought,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
I gotta-
He definitely needs something like that.
How was your Christmas, Sean?
It was good. I had both Christmas Eve and Christmas Day off
Ooh, lucky
because
you.
I had covered for Matt on something, and I don't know, it was back at Thanksgiving, and he needed something, and I was like, yeah, I can work it, and he was like, are you sure? I'm like, I was already scheduled to work close, and we'd opened, it was, a matter of like, I'm going to be there an extra 4 hours. Ooh, wow, big deal, yeah, I can go ahead and do that. So, he apparently was just so blown away by my sacrifice that he said, well, you can have Christmas Eve and Christmas Day off. And I'm like, I'm not going to complain. So
Yeah.
that was nice because that was a couple of extra days that Mel was still going through her recuperative
Yeah.
stages
Yeah.
after the surgery. And so it was kind of nice to have that. And then went out to my dad's on Christmas Eve and had a very nice time with his family. And that was the time it was finally Christmas for me. Because I've been complaining and grouchy at work about the Christmas music, and, And Christmas Eve, I got in the car and I put KMJ on, and they were playing Christmas music, and I was okay with it. And I had my Santa hat on, and I was okay with it. It's now Christmas. I'm ready. So, Christmas Eve at 6:00. That's when it starts. So I drove down and went out to my dad's and had a good time with his family, and then didn't get any Who stuff out there, but I got some painting supplies, which was kind of
nice.
fun because I told everybody I had such a good time painting at the paint therapy with my TARDIS. I was like, I'm itching to do this again. I want to go. So I got some of that, and then came back, and we had a really good Christmas here. And Cody and all the kids came over and did their stuff, and we did ours, and opened our stuff. And Mel, we've been on this. She's been on this Mars Attack kick. Just, I don't know what brought it up, but something happened, and she's like,
Christmas movie.
we need to watch that.
I forgot that it was a Christmas movie until he posted it.
It's not a Christmas movie. It just happened to work out that
Yeah,
way.
all right.
But she's been on this kick where we need to watch Mars Attacks. Well, I don't own Mars Attacks. I have it on Laserdisc, but I don't have it on. So I was telling her, well, we can go downstairs and fire that thing up and watch it. And she's like, I will have to do that. And just never have gotten around to it.
20
And then
minutes for it to warm up.
something would happen, and, with a motor and everything. Something would happen.
Fan on
and-
there that goes.
And then the arm bar kicks in. And it's, the planets align.
I heard you
know.
could stack them on like that little arm thing, and then it drops down the next.
No, it doesn't.
Oh wait, that was a record.
That was a
Sorry,
record.
It was an album. If anybody, you probably don't even remember that. If anybody that's listening to this is younger than probably 35 years old, they'll have no idea what we're talking about. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I used to make the stack
record
of the
players,
records.
and it'd have a spindle, and you could take and you put a record on there, and then you could stack up to like 6 other albums
remember
and
the
stuff on the
stacks,
top,
yeah.
put a little arm on it, and then as soon as the one album was done, the needle would pop up and come over here and move out of the way, and let me deal with the arm, and then the next one would drop down, and the needle would come back and set on top of the first, or the next one, and play through.
I just did the whole thing.
Sorry, I got way off base there.
It
Mars
was
Attack.
in the old days we used to call it shuffle. But
I think that was Loop.
so she's been working part time at Vintage Stop before the surgery, and we got a copy of Mars Attacks in at work, and she was just like, "Oh, we gotta buy it. I was like, we'll look into it. And then they had the Steelbook, like at a exclusive, and of course it's a UK or something version, Region 2, whatever. But it's a regionless one, but it's only available overseas, Steelbook edition. And she got all excited over that. I was like, oh, we might have to order that. And then she kind of forgot about it again. And something happened Christmas morning, and she mentioned it, and she hit me, and she's like, oh, I really want to watch that movie. Well, okay, we'll get on it. Not knowing, unbeknownst to her, that I'd already bought it, and I bought the Steelbook for her, and it was under the tree. So that happened to be the first thing that she opened Christmas morning.
Oh, nice.
And she opened that and went, and hit me again, which I didn't think was fair. So we had to watch.
Well, it's because she was having to wait through all the other gifts to be opened before she could watch it.
Yeah.
So we
That's just cruel.
of all of the movies that we could watch on Christmas, we watched Mars Attacks.
Well, it's a tradition in the UK that on Christmas night that they used to anyway. I don't know if they do this anymore. If people still live in the UK, or people that live in the UK know that they still do it, let me know. But it used to be a thing as Christmas night, the big movie event in the evening. They always play disaster films.
Oh,
so it'd
yeah.
be like Poseidon Adventure, or it'd be Towering Inferno.
Well, that's
or
why Doctor Who
Airport.
does that.
Yeah, that was why Russell T Davies did all of his films in disaster movie style. So
that was
you
Mars Attacks is a
just
disaster
carried on
movie.
a British
I
tradition.
just carried on a
Watch
British
disaster
tradition.
film.
We had a proper British Christmas. Mars Attacks. Such a bad, lovable movie. Tom
There's
Jones.
nothing bad about that movie.
There's a lot of bad about that movie.
Nothing
But
bad about that movie.
it's an enjoyable
It knows
movie.
it's bad.
It's,
It embraces it.
no, it's not bad. It's exactly what it's supposed to be. That's what's the beauty of it.
I-
It's the old style
It's a
1950s
B-movie.
B movie trading card. I mean, it was based on a trading card set. For
Well, that's the thing. I honestly think that I think watching it, I think there's room for it. It could have gone a little more camp, a little more absurd, a little more, and I think that's why most people didn't get it. Because I'll be honest, I watched Mars Attacks originally, and I was slightly disappointed with
It was
it.
trying too hard to be serious.
But
Yeah.
it took itself a little too seriously,
there you
despite the absurdity of what was going on.
right.
But the more I watch it, the more I'm able to just gloss over and go, "Hey, it's Tom Jones," and so.
Speaking of Tim Burton movies that didn't take them, or that had major issues, I did watch Batman Returns ahead of Christmas.
Not Batman and Robin.
No,
Not Batman, but that was much more of a train wreck than I remembered.
Keith, it's not that bad.
Have you seen it recently?
Yeah, but it's not a train wreck. I mean, it's maybe a slight
Maybe
derail,
I wasn't in the
but
right.
it's not a train wreck.
Maybe I wasn't in the right frame of mind, but it felt like people were just doing things randomly to do things randomly.
Well,
The motivations
there's some
didn't
of
make
that.
sense for
There's
anybody.
some of that. I'll give you.
the problem with Batman Returns,
And there's not enough Michael Keaton in Batman Returns.
but that's very much it. There's too many villains.
30 minutes until you see Bruce Wayne.
Two major villains and a minor, if you include Christopher Walken. And it's like he's got a sketchbook of wonderful characters, but the book keeps falling open to random pages at different times, and so you never really know for sure what's going on. They start off with this plot about the power capacitor, and he's sucking power from Gotham. We never do anything with that. We get bogged down in the revenge story. It's like, it's too much going on. But it's a Christmas movie, so it counts.
It is a Christmas movie. Sorry. Tim Burton made me think about Batman Returns.
What did I get Doctor Who was? I got Kinda or Snake Dance, one of the two. I think I had Kinda.
You brought up Kinda.
Well,
You have both now, though.
I have both
Okay,
now. Snake Dance is the one that I didn't have, so I got it. And I got a TARDIS bottle opener for all of the root beer consumption that's been going on. And when it touches metal...
I'm so glad that you're excited about that, and it would be a clever little thing for me to own. But it's like on the way bottom of my Doctor Who
I never knew it.
paraphernalia.
I didn't know it existed either.
don't
I just thought it was the
either.
coolest
What's
thing.
now on the bottom?
Oh, okay. I got to tell you guys about this. Mind blown. All right. We watched Gremlins
Another Christmas movie.
on Christmas. That was later in the
That one
day.
is a Christmas movie.
So opening credits, Gremlins comes. It's been a long time since I've seen Gremlins. In fact, I don't know that I had ever seen Gremlins until about 2 or 3 years ago. I remember the book and record sets.
What?
Like I would go to Hardee's every week because they would do a book and record that would come out.
Did you not see that in your childhood?
Well, because the book and record scared me.
It's a scary movie.
It's
I saw
a
it as
legit
kid.
scary movie. When they start mutating and all the
It's not intended
Stripe,
to be a kid's movie. It
Stripe,
ended up being marketed as a kid movie, though. Stripe, yeah.
Yeah, when Stripe and all the,
Spike.
Is it Spike or
Oh, it is Stripe.
it's
Yeah,
Stripe.
you're
Yeah,
right.
I think
he's
it's
got the
Spike in
mohawk.
the sequel, right?
Oh, there is a Spike in the sequel.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I don't know. I've seen the sequel all once because I hated it.
Oh, it's the
No.
That's more of a kid's movie.
Tony Randall. What we'd like to do is
No.
anyway. So the opening shot, and I'm looking at this snow-covered city and the children playing, and I went, "That's Hill Valley."
Yeah.
It's the Back to the Future
Yeah,
set.
it is.
It's the courthouse and the main street and the whole
It
bit.
is.
The theater that they blow all
wow.
that they blow up with all the gremlins in it is the theater Marty crashes into at the end of the road.
I did not know that and never noticed that until I was this was 20 years ago. Holly and I went out to Universal Studios and we took the backlot tour. And they drive you by that big courthouse, and they tell you there's actually more movies that have been shot here besides Back to the Future. Because when you drive into when the tram drives into that area on the backlot, you see the courthouse. It's not all fixed up like it was, and because they've used they tear stuff off of it and do different things on the facade. But it's clearly the building. You go, oh, okay, that's the courthouse, and I'm doing the bowing down to the building. And they said that actually you'll be surprised to know that a lot of films have actually been shot here, and there's like 6 or 7 other ones that are.
There's a whole bunch of them. Yeah.
But that was the first one she said was Gremlins was actually shot, and I went, oh.
And all of a sudden that little door went,
Yeah,
and there it was. James mentioned this. He says it's also Hazard.
Hazard.
The Dukes of Hazard. And it wasn't until he said that I went, oh my God, it's Downtown Hazard. It's totally the square and Cooter's Garage. It's all right there.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
And so that was
Paramount
just.
must have used their.
That was
lot
just
then, because I think that was a CBS Paramount.
So anyway,
Venture.
we're getting later in the movie, and Billy caught this one, and I got up to do something. They said, "You got to come back in here. You got to come back here." The scene where he goes to the conference, the inventors convention,
Yes,
or whatever.
yes.
Okay, a couple things I did not realize. Yeah, so he's on the phone, and of course I've always Robbie the robot. That's hey look, there's Robbie, and that's all I fixate on. Well, he's on the phone to her talking about how the competition is going to be tougher or whatever, and this kind of roadster cruises by right in the front ground.
Right.
Steven Spielberg is driving the roadster.
Oh, is that right? Oh, wow.
Totally had never seen him before.
I've never seen him either.
It's Steven Spielberg.
I clearly visualized the scene. Had no idea that was Steven Spielberg.
Over his left shoulder is the time machine from the Time Machine.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. And there's a guy at it, and the wheels going, and everything is going like this. And they cut back to her, and she says something. And okay, just the fact that you got the Time Machine, Robbie the Robot, and Steven Spielberg in the same scene is an awesome visual gag, right? That cuts to her, and it comes back to him. The Time Machine is gone. There's a puff of smoke, and some guy's doing this in the space that it used to be. And I went, this is a background joke. This is the greatest thing in the history of ever. And I'd never seen that before.
Wow.
So you have to go home and look that up. That's my long expanded Christmas story that doesn't have anything to do with Christmas.
Well, the movie takes place at Christmas.
But the movie takes place at Christmas, so it counts, you know. But yeah, so go home and look that up or YouTube it or something, because it was just like.
Never noticed that.
But Billy was the one that caught you. Went, look at the thing. What, you know. Oh.
Anything else? No other Who stuff though. Well,
Kinda or Snake Band.
we should say
one of those two.
yeah.
Yeah, you go on with.
No,
next
that's all right. I was just going to mention that we
did
had
we did
Christmas
ours tonight. Yeah.
So
I'm sure I got more stuff. I just
never
don't
the
remember
fear,
what it was.
listeners. I did get more Who stuff. It just came tonight when we finally got together.
I didn't get more Who stuff. Well, it's
you
not.
did?
An ornament. Sorry.
I'm so hurt. I
sorry.
made that ornament.
And a lanyard.
It's a gorgeous ornament and a lanyard. I was
got a
looking.
lanyard.
I was looking down at my. I was looking down at my whirly pop.
Yeah, well, yours was the lead. Well, even the gift card you could probably buy something. Doctor.
I'll probably put it towards Series 8.
I'm going to start. I got this really. Actually, first of all, I got this. Well, as you know, in Fun and Games, we did Yahtzee was one of Dr. Yahtzee was one of the things that we reviewed, and I had commented a long time ago that it's just Yahtzee. I mean, come on. And then of course Sean brought up the fact that there's a doll like Yahtzee, and I kind of thought, that might be one I might want to own.
I believe his exact quote was, "Really?"
And then I was in Best Buy the other day, or Barnes & Noble the other day, when I was exchanging a book because I'd actually gotten two. I talk about that. That's what we've talked about so much. So I actually walked by a table, and there was the Dalek Yahtzee set. And I looked at it, and I actually contemplated buying it with my gift card. And I was like, I better pass on it. Which luckily I did, because Sean actually got me...
Sean and Mel
got me Yahtzee, Dalek Yahtzee. So now I have a cool Dalek Yahtzee set. Which we opened it up, and it's just as loud as the TARDIS.
Well, I don't know if it was as loud.
Well, but it's still annoying. So I'm
The
going
funnel
to,
shape, I
I'm
think,
gonna
helps
the
it.
the TARDIS is, or the TARDIS, the Dalek is just going to set with my Dalek collection. So
I got to be honest. To any Dalek fans out there, the Dalek Yahtzee's worth buying just
impressive.
for the Dalek.
It totally
I mean,
is.
go get a cup and put your dice in it. But
the dice look awesome
Dalek out.
too. We all kind of come in.
Yeah,
and
we were
and
much
it's
more
easier to
impressed by
read,
the-
and
Yeah.
we've talked about what we're on the dogs. And then the second thing I got was Keith got me, and Sarah got me Jelly Babies, which very Doctor Who there, and a really super awesome poster that I hadn't seen anywhere. It's a comic book cover poster. It's not from any actual particular
not an
comic
actual,
book, but it's
it's
done
in
in
the
that
style.
style, and it's kind of that distressed look, as though it's an older comic. But it's actually got Tom Baker, and he's kind of hanging off the front of the TARDIS, and it's really super
And
cool.
it says Daleks on
It
it.
does. It was his Return of the Daleks, I
Yeah,
think, at the
yeah.
bottom. So so really cool. So I did get more Doctor Who stuff. Yay! All right.
Keith,
Sean and Mel got me a Jiffy Pop, which I'd never had before.
it's not a Jiffy Pop.
I'm sorry.
Jiffy Pop is a brand of popcorn.
Whirly Pop.
There you go.
There you
Whirly
go.
Pop.
Jiffy Pop's that stuff in
Yeah.
the
Whirly
cardboard
Pop.
and
And
foil.
as much of a popcorn connoisseur as I am, it's kind of surprising I've never had one.
It's a little surprising you've never had one.
And then
It's one of those nice ones with the handle crank,
Yeah.
and you actually hold it over the stovetop, and
3 minutes.
and you just
3
turn the
minute
crank
popcorn
to keep
popper.
the popcorn moving, and the kernels in there, and as they move, they continue to stay connected with the bottom of the pan, and it pops quicker because it's in movement and it's still on the heat consistently, and it actually pops better. You get a lot less.
You get a lot less
Yeah.
kernels.
A lot
with
less.
it.
I'm excited to use it.
Here I'm describing his
We're-
present.
we're-
Although you and I each have one, so we more familiar
Yeah.
with it, I suppose.
I'm looking forward to using it when we watch some movies this weekend. And then Glenn made both Sean and I
Just don't forget to cure it.
individually. I will not forget to cure it. Really awesome ornaments that have the TARDIS and a snow globe, and then a nice little present underneath. And
Yeah.
it has our names on it. I like it a lot.
And you said there were shrinky dinks?
Was what I did is I took they have shrinky dinks now that you can put through a printer, and so I found that really awesome TARDIS and a snow globe with the Dalek snowman
And the snowman has the
with the scarf,
which
yeah.
is under, yeah.
And so you have to blow them up to a certain size. So I made sure I got the best resolution, printed it out, you shrink them for a little while, and then of course put holes on each side, and there's a little present hanging from it, and a little ribbon on top. I got all crafty this year.
You did.
You better be careful. Our Patreon subscribers might be expecting ornaments next year.
I posted it on
Facebook,
Facebook,
yeah.
Twitter, and Instagram. So there you go.
And what did I get? I got a Rocketeer action figure from Keith, a reaction figure, but it's the Rocketeer, and I love the Rocketeer, so I'm excited about that.
I
And
can't believe you opened it.
you know that NRFB, yeah. and Jelly
No,
Babies.
because later tonight, after we've gone, he's going to be down there playing, flying it around the room.
I imagine he does that all the time.
Yeah, pretty much.
Does the helmet come off?
Yeah.
Oh,
And the backpack comes off too.
Oh.
So you could
Rocket pack.
excuse me, you could hide the rocket pack in the back of the car and just be Cliff Secord. But you could find the rocket pack and put it on and then be the Rocketeer, which is awesome. And Jelly Babies, and then Glenn got.
No, I didn't.
Oh, this is no, you're right. This is
Oh,
too.
okay.
A set of 4 Doctor Who shot glasses, which are also done in that comic book style, which I thought were very
Hey,
cool.
you got a theme going this year.
Apparently, I didn't even
You didn't
realize
realize it.
it until
'Cause
later.
it's even the same TARDIS, the Vorp Vorp.
Yeah.
Because Vorp is obviously a comic book
Vorp
thing,
Vorp.
and not,
this
not
is what's on the out of that poster. So.
but it's got the silence on one and a Dalek, a new series Cyberman.
A new series, Cyber.
A
It
new,
is new.
series.
It's not Cybus. It's a new.
No,
Not
it's
Peach
a Nightmare in Silver Cyberman. or what I've come to think of as Nightmare on Silver Surfer.
I
And the
prefer to
TARDIS.
say that's from
Death in Heaven.
Death in Heaven. Yeah.
Oh, it's got the brig.
It's the brig.
It does. You notice it doesn't say anything. It doesn't say delete or anything bad on it, and he's kind of in the Iron Man superhero pose. So I'm going to say that's the brig there.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
So we got 2 good guys and 2 bad guys.
Yeah, there you go.
Because Silence are still bad guys. And I got the aforementioned ornament and
And a gift card.
gift card.
Yes.
So I know I got some more Doctor Who stuff, but for the life of me, I can't think of what it was. But anyway,
Christmas. It's a good thing too because we do a Doctor Who podcast. All right. Anything else that you guys did this week? I watched Wolf of Wall Street this week. By the way,
How was it? Was it good? I saw your comment about the language.
Yeah, that's the worst part of it. Oh my gosh, so many f-bombs.
it was the 80s.
I'm getting old. I'm getting old because that stuff didn't used to bother me. But I just sit there thinking, I really feel like I need to wash my ears out with soap or something. I just felt so filthy afterwards. But it's well acted. It's Jonas Hill does a great job. DiCaprio does a great job. You guys know I'm not a huge DiCaprio fan, but yeah, I really enjoyed him. All of the actors and actresses in this were really good. The story is a little too... If you don't know what it's about this guy that he aspires to work on Wall Street, and on the first day of his job, or first week of his job, I guess it is, might even be longer than that. It happened to be Black Monday, and everything tanked. Of course, it was the worst, stock market crisis since the crash in the 1920s, and so he gets fired. And so he goes out to find another job. Well, he's got these really good brokerage skills now based on just what he learned in that week. And, of course, he came out of college for that. And they see an ad in the paper, and he goes and answers the ad to be a broker again because he thought he was going to have to do something else because, I mean, it's dismal. I mean, the stock market really hurt a lot of people. He goes and finds out that there's this place where they sell penny stocks because it's kind of the new thing in the 1980s. And so he goes in, and they're saying, you get, instead of the 3% share that you get as a broker on Wall Street with penny stocks, the incentive is to sell as much as you can, and they're selling like $15 at a time because penny stocks were those stocks that you could really just snatch up real cheap because they were little startups and they never really ever went anywhere. I think there's only a few penny stocks that actually were ever successful, but he decides to take the job. And he's enamored by the fact that I get 50% of the commission from these penny stocks. So everybody's selling like $15, $20, $30. He goes and sells like $4,000 on his first call of pennies because he's this real smooth talker. And what happens is he decides that that's kind of the way to go, and he thinks, his wife kind of says, don't you feel bad selling to these people that don't have a lot of money already? He says, you should be targeting the people that have money, can throw it away. And he says, yeah, you're right. And so what they do is he sets up his own company and sells penny stocks, but they're selling to rich clients, so they end up selling a lot more because the rich clients, they have money to throw away.
Yeah.
They look at these as like little tiny things, it's just a drop in the hat. And so he ends up making a ton of money, and the thing gets, the business gets huge, and he starts this entire empire of his own. Well, the Fed, he starts doing some stuff under the table, and the Feds get cotton to him and go after him. And I won't go any more into it than that. But the problem is that I think the movie itself glorifies they're really bad people because they're really taking advantage of people. And I think the story is trying to show how bad this was and how bad these people were and how much they were taking advantage. But it almost goes too far to glorify what they're doing and make him look like a hero. And it never really does anything for the many, many victims in the 80s and 90s of this essentially scam that he puts on. And so unfortunately it's too heavy in the glorifying what he did and not heavy enough, or there's too light in the fact that there were so many victims of this basically scheme that this entire corporation was creating. So I didn't like it because of that. Other than that, I mean, it's well acted and there's way too much cussing. If you can't take too many of the F word, then stay away from it because it's about every other word. It's like my uncle said: if you cut out the F bombs and the sex, the movie would have been 15 minutes. He's probably right.
I watched Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
Ooh, I watched that too.
And you're right on. If I would have thought about it, we totally
That
should.
would have been a fun tweet
Okay,
along.
next year, the 23rd, because Christmas Eve you're
Right,
off and
right,
doing
right.
stuff. The 23rd, we're going to hold a tweet along
Okay.
to Santa
Flicks
Claus
with
Conquers the
Friends
Martians.
on December. We're scheduling it now. Flicks with Friends, December 23rd.
We'll figure out a time later.
Last week we kept calling it. Well, last time we recorded, we kept calling it Santa Claus versus the Martians. It wasn't until
It's Conkers.
It wasn't until you posted that I went, well, duh, it's Conkers.
Well, even Conkers isn't an apt name for that movie.
Well, no.
Santa Claus goes and helps the Martians.
Yeah, exactly,
And
yeah.
stops a usurper.
Yes, yes. But nobody would have gone and saw it if you.
No,
thought that.
yeah. I don't think I'd ever seen it before. I had so much fun watching that movie. And then that stupid... Have you seen it?
I don't know that I've seen all of it, but
That stupid theme song was in my head for like 4 days afterwards. And then it would just make me chuckle thinking about it.
Sing a few bars.
Hooray for Santa Claus.
I discovered it. I won't go too deep in the story, but I discovered it about 10 years ago on internetarchive.org because it's in the public domain. So nobody owns it. It's public owned, and there's been a lot of the cheap dollar DVDs you can find in the dollar store and stuff like that, versions of it. And I've always seen it, but it was on Internet Archive one time, and I downloaded it. And I went, oh, okay, because me, I love B movies, especially 50s and 60s B films. And I downloaded it, and I thought, and as I read the premise of it, I thought this may be a little too out there for me because I really like stinky B movies, and so I started watching it, and I fell in love with it. I was
I'm so glad it's on Netflix. And
Oh,
easy
yeah.
to access now.
And it just showed up this month too.
Yeah, I think
it's been on there
so.
very
Yeah.
long.
Speaking of tweet-alongs, the first Marvel with Friends
And I missed it.
was on
I
Saturday.
totally
Iron
forgot.
Man.
I was working.
It was a lot of fun.
I forgot. I was available. Forgot all about it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Mel
So,
had
next
considered
week-
joining in, but
Not this Saturday, but next Saturday we'll be doing Incredible Hulk.
I will definitely try to be there.
Yes, 9:00 Central Time, Saturday night. I watched a lot of stuff actually. No, Mel, I didn't watch that.
she's throwing a reminder out for me. She can feel me sitting here going, "What did we watch?"
You watched Snowpiercer?
We watched Snowpiercer.
How was it?
It's,
Mel liked it.
It's good. I feel like this is one of those. I've had this movie pitched to me like it's the thinking man's action flick, and there's a certain amount of truth to that. It's I don't know if you know anything about it. It's
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's a Chris Evans, Tilda Swinton film.
Chris Evans, Tilda Swinton, and John Hurt. So there's a Doctor Who connection.
Did you post recently that you saw that?
No.
Oh, I saw somewhere just recently.
I don't think I did.
That cast list, so I must know what they were talking about.
But it's set in a post-apocalyptic kind of future where global warming has resulted in, or we think we can fix it by releasing C blah 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 some gas into the atmosphere, which is going to cool everything down, and it goes too far and it freezes the planet, and so the last of humanity is bundled aboard this train, the Snowpiercer, which
It's the Ice Warriors.
yeah.
Ice Warriors or Moonbase, where they were trying to control the weather.
Moonbase. This railroad tycoon conglomerate has put together this train, and he's managed to connect various sections of various railroads around the world, and he's made one continuous circuit. And it's like this super luxury train is what it started off to be. Well, he winds up being able to bundle what's left of humanity into this train and take off. So they're just circling the globe, waiting for, and this is their little closed environment. But of course, it's class-based, so if you're up in the front of the train, everything's hunky-dory, and it's the luxury train that it was set out to be to begin with. If you're in the back of the train, you're living in squalor and, 10,000 people to a boxcar. It's a rough little environment. So they stage a rebellion and fight their way up the train. It's one of those movies that it's still with me. Like, I'm still percolating on it this long after having seen it.
It's been a while since I've had a movie like that.
Which is an impressive feat in and of itself. But I think instead of being, kind of the thinking man's action movie, the responses that I'm getting from people that didn't like it are, well, there wasn't enough action in it. And it's like, well, clearly you missed what the point of this was. But I kind of come at it almost from the opposite angle, like there might have been too much action and not enough world building for the premise that you were going for. Because I had all these questions about, well, wait a minute, why does this do this? And why do you have that here? And how come this isn't doing that? it's still one of those really deep, involved, like, it's definitely a film that makes you think, and I did like it, but I don't think I liked it as much as I wanted to like it because they didn't quite sell it to me right in the first place. But it's definitely worth a watch. It's
been on my list since they added it to Netflix.
Yeah, it's definitely worth a watch. I haven't talked to Echo yet. She was the one that really recommended it heavily to me and said, you need to see this movie so we can talk about it. And I haven't had a chance to talk to her yet. But definitely a different look for Chris Evans.
Yeah, especially considering
John Hurt
it's
plays
post Captain America.
Yeah,
so
John Hurt plays the he's the wise old man. He's
He
John
plays John
Hurt.
Hurt.
He's been doing that for the last 10 years, 15 years.
But Chris Evans, it was like, well, this is a little different from you, isn't it? So,
what else did you watch?
Kingdom of Heaven. Have you guys seen that?
Oh, the Ridley Scott War
Crusades.
Yeah, how is it?
Interesting. It's very interesting.
I own it. I haven't watched it.
I don't know what to think of it. I watched the director's cut. Was what was lent to me. So there's extra stuff in there, and it's split upon 2 discs, and it feels like an older.
Oh, Ron.
Yeah. It feels like an older epic film because it has like the beginning music.
Really,
and
Scott's
intermission.
kind of that way.
Yeah.
He likes this
and
kind of thing.
I was never a huge fan of Gladiator, but I really found
Bite
this
your
one.
tongue.
Sorry.
Oh, I love Gladiator.
I was not a big
Good
fan.
movie.
I really, really like Gladiator. I'm going to come out and say it. It was overrated.
Maybe that's why it was so overhyped by the time I saw
Yeah.
it.
Maybe.
But
I know.
Kingdom of Heaven was a fascinating. It's got
Spartacus
so
is better.
many people
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely.
in this movie.
Including Orlando Bloom.
Well, he's the man, and you follow her. Eva Green,
I was about to
Is
say.
that
she in it? I didn't know she was in
Including? You mean?
Edward Norton
Featuring.
is in it. No, even in the director's cut.
Now, John.
Just need to know
Liam
how I need to
Neeson?
bump it up on the list. Liam Neeson's in it too.
I just blanked on his name. Island of Dr. Moreau, Harry Potter, Dragonheart. He was in all 3 of those.
Sorry.
You know who I'm talking about?
Dragonheart.
The King in Dragonheart.
Oh, David Thewlis.
Yes, David Thewlis is in it. A very young Nikolai Costylis, Jamie Lannister.
It's funny. I didn't like him in Dragonheart. Well, I mean, you weren't supposed to like him in Dragonheart,
No.
but I didn't think he was a good actor in Dragonheart.
Oh.
Like I was like, wow, he's whiny.
The first thing I remember him from was Island of Dr. Moreau.
I still haven't seen that one.
And I really enjoyed that. No one else seemed to, but I did.
But as soon as he showed up as Lupin, then I went back and watched Dragonheart, and it's like, he's so good in this. I just found an appreciation for him after he was Lupin.
It even has Lord Friendzone in it from Game of Thrones. Kevin McKidd. I mean, there's Alexander Siddig is in it. It's got a huge cast, and it's not knowing much about the Crusades. It's,
Wait, is Alan Tudyk in it?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's the one downfall of it. If they could have gotten anybody else. 2005, he was busy with... no, he wasn't.
Yeah.
Sorry.
he wasn't.
Didn't Serenity come out in 2000? When was that?
It did come out in 2000.
Was it 5 or 6?
5.
Well, either way, if it was
It
2006,
came out
he was
after
filming it.
Revenge of the Sith.
Jeremy Irons.
Maybe it was 6.
Yeah. Wow.
But it was good?
It was good. It's set before King Lionheart goes into... Or Richard the Lionheart, whatever his name is, heads into the Crusades, and it's kind of this time of 100 years of peace before that, where Jerusalem was... The Muslims and the Christians lived side by side thanks to this king, and it's kind of this...
Is it Saladin? Or did he come later?
Saladin is the Muslim who's trying to take back Jerusalem, if I remember correctly.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so... Back up. It's
King Baldwin is the one...
Set prior to
it's 100 years before...
Well, it's the 100-year period leading up to the
it's
siege
kind of the
Jerusalem.
end of... Because
The Muslim siege of Jerusalem.
Spoilers, the main character encounters King Richard as he's going to Jerusalem at the end of the film. So it's the setup to that event.
So when did they take Jerusalem? Because that was kind of the whole point of the Crusades was to free Jerusalem, right?
This is like a pre-Crusades.
Yeah, it was like a
film is what
pre-Crusade.
this is,
It's
yeah.
part of the
so it's a Crusades film that the Crusades
it's
aren't
the
in.
setup to the Crusades.
yeah.
Is what he's
Okay.
saying.
And they still call it the Crusades, but what we know now as the Crusades mostly comes later. But there was this time of peace where, because of this King Baldwin, Jerusalem is a city of peace. Well, King Baldwin dies, as you can predict, and the new king doesn't want the Muslims there, so they essentially start a war, and that's kind of what helps kick off the Crusades too. It's a fascinating film. I don't know if I'd like it, if I'd watch it a lot, but it was really fascinating. And considering I'm not really huge on a lot of historical dramas, that should be high praise. Speaking of historical dramas that I wasn't a big fan of, Monuments Men.
You didn't like Monuments Men?
No.
Oh,
You
I
saw that
loved
too,
Monuments Men.
We just watched that. It was okay. I think the trailer sold it as something as it wasn't.
It
It
made
wasn't
it
very-
It made it out to be a lot more of a comedy than I think it really was.
And it wasn't. Then it was kind of okay. We have a little bit of drama here, and it just kind of laid there for me.
But I think
Didn't
maybe
really do
because of
much.
that, I appreciated the comedic moments a lot more than.
But there were some very nice comedic moments, and there were some nice dramatic moments and very touching moments. But overall, the story was kind of like it felt kind of anticlimactic, even at the big climax. I don't know. Because it was all very much, we're going to search for
I'm
these
not
things.
going to rush out to see that one now. Thanks, Keith.
Sorry.
No, it's
Well, I didn't like Gladiator, so
that's true. Well, I'll probably like Monuments Men.
and everyone did a great job. It was just kind of Sarah and I both were not impressed, and she loves historical pieces, especially a lot of times ones set in war. So
Really, I didn't think she'd be a war movie buff.
it depends on how it's depicted.
Well, I suppose it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Speaking of movies, are you done? Sorry.
I'm done. That's all I saw.
Speaking of movies, this is a little off. I mean, it's not something I watch, but being New Year's Day, one of my New Year's resolutions, besides getting fit, is I'm going to play a game called Movie Roulette. And because there's just a lot of movies out there I haven't seen that I want to see or need to see or should be seen, I've decided to Netflix it. Not this won't be like an every day of the year thing, but when I have a chance or have some downtime, I'm going to fire up Netflix. I'm going to fire up a genre because I decided I need, the way Netflix is set up, I need at least to go into a genre that I want in the mood for. But you close your eyes and you kind of roll back and forth through the selection, and then you stop and you watch whatever movie you landed on. I won't include television shows because then I get stuck into a series. But I'm going to play roulette this year, and I'll let you guys know at the end of the year how it turns out because
What you come across.
presumably I'll be seeing a lot of things and probably things that people probably
have
said,
seen
why did you watch that? Well, it's because that's what it landed on. So I did want to bring up one other thing that I should talk about that I got for Christmas. My aunt and uncle. My aunt's actually a retired librarian. My uncle's a history teacher. Or was a history teacher. They in their retirement they opened a bookstore, and because that's
retirement.
Yeah, that was my aunt's passion, and my uncle actually he's refurbishing some apartments above the building in Hutchison, and they're turning that into their home. So they're going to have this like downtown, basically flat above their bookstore. And
That's
so that's
a good
kind of their
retirement.
passion, yeah. And so they're really excited about that. But anyway, every year since I was way little, my aunt always brought. She would start out with everybody got a book for Christmas. That was her thing. She's a librarian. Everybody in the family gets a book for Christmas. Then she got to the point where she just decided she couldn't. This is about 10, 15 years ago. She got to the point where she decided she couldn't determine what people would like. So what she would do is she would go to the store and just buy a bunch of books of all kinds of different authors, genres, everything. Put them in a basket, and she would bring them to Christmas. And after we were done opening presents, everybody filters through the basket and takes whatever book or books they want. She was never picky about you taking more. If there's, and every once in a while there was a fight over a book, but everybody's real friendly because they're like, all right, well, you were done with it, I'll read it. So that it always ends up that way. Anyway, now that they have the bookstore, it's a lot easier for her because she just goes through the bookstore because it's a used bookstore, but she goes through the books and puts them in a basket, brings them to us. And this year, I'm going through this basket, the annual Christmas book basket, and I pull out a book, and it looks vaguely familiar to me, and the author looks extremely familiar to me. And the book is Kansas Train Tales, a collection of railroad history, and the author is listener and friend of the show, Robert Collins.
Hey!
Oh, awesome!
So I'm looking at this book going, wow, that is a bit of serendipity right there. So I have set this book. I took the book. I was like, I'm reading this one. So I've got it. It's. I probably won't get to it right away, but it's on my reading list. I've got it at home, Robert. So I want to let you know I'm going to try to get it read, especially before we go to Planet Comic Con. Because if Robert is there and he's trying to get set up there, I'm going to have it signed. So, Robert, I got a book that I want you to sign for me. So, I thought that was so cool.
That is neat.
I go, I know this guy. And my aunt goes, are you serious? And I said, yeah, he lives in Kansas City. He listens to our show. We're friends on Facebook. I said, I've never met him. We've had lots of opportunities. He's been to Topeka. I said, I think in March I'm going to finally get an opportunity to meet him, and I'm going to take this book to him and say, yeah, I read this. Sign it. So
That's really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. Now, I felt just a smidge bad because she runs a used bookstore, so all of the books are secondhand, and so Robert probably doesn't get any money for the sale if it ends up at her bookstore.
Yeah, I'm sure at that point.
That's just the nature of books, and they end up at a used bookstore. The publisher no longer gets the proceeds to it, so that doesn't kick to Robert. But the important thing about this thing, though, is when it goes to a used bookstore and someone picks it up and reads it and likes it, they're more apt to go buy other authors' books, new because they fall in love with those books. So there is a benefit to it.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd bring that up because I thought that was very, very cool. I was like, oh, I know him.
Mel and I finished Walking Dead Season 3, which is much better than Season 2. I don't know if you watched any of it. Or
I haven't watched
you didn't watch any of it? Season 3 is really good. And then started Arrow.
Oh!
Yay!
So
Speaking of Planet Comic Con.
Speaking of Planet Comic Con, and Stephen Amell and Robbie Amell and all
John
of
Barrowman.
And John Barrowman.
He probably
and,
hasn't showed up yet, though, in Arrow. Or how far?
yeah, we are 6 episodes in.
So he's there by now.
And
Tommy's dad.
I was thinking that hasn't been established yet, but I've called it. No, I called it from episode
he's Malcolm
1.
Merlin and Tommy.
They've never given his name yet.
Oh, they haven't. Okay,
but it's just watching Tommy act. I went, is he doing Barrowman at a younger age? Because he acts like him, he talks like him, he's just got the mannerisms, the perfect casting. And I looked at Mel and I explained this. I was like, and the more I saw Tommy, I was like, this has got to be Barrowman's kid in this show. That's how this has got to play out. He's got to be Tommy Senior.
That would have been a cool. Hey, I was right.
Vindication.
Because I've just qualified it earlier for you.
No. I just the more I look at this, the more I'm convinced that it had to have been him. But they haven't actually given his name yet. We just
Alex Kingston obviously hasn't showed up yet either. So I think
that's
she didn't
late
come
in the
around
season.
until
I didn't even
almost
get that
the
far
end of
into
the
the
season.
show.
Yeah.
we just which one. He got arrested for being Arrow, which turned out he was not, and then they just did the...
Is that when the detective comes to the house and they're... he's having the party. And they end up convincing him that he's not.
And then we just did the episode with the Royal Flush Gang, which...
Oh, that was fun.
Which it was.
It's kind of a one-off, if you ask me, but it was a neat way to incorporate the Royal Flush Gang. It's not... I mean, it's obviously not based on... I mean, it's loosely based on the Royal Flush Gang in the comics.
Right.
This was a clever way to do
it. It was a clever way of doing it. Well, especially because they are one of my favorite Batman Beyond villains. But when you're doing with Batman in the future, and they all have cybernetic enhancements, or one's a robot and one's a... Just to pare it down to this was still kind of a cool way of getting it in there. The show is doing a lot of things right for me. One, the island flashbacks, unlike Lost, are well done.
The island wasn't a flashback.
I like how the story that happens in the flashbacks parallels things that are going on in present day.
But it's you may get a lot of flashback, you may get a bit of flashback, but it's still moving chronologically forward in the narrative of the island part of it, while still moving chronologically forward in the real timeline, while still tying in. And I love the fact that we got a Lost joke in the so what have you missed out on the last 5 years? Oh, Lost ended. Turns out they're all dead.
But they weren't.
I think. And it's just like, oh, we're still making Lost jokes. Awesome. I love this show already.
He was on an island. You got to make a Lost joke.
And what was the other thing? The cliffhangers.
Yeah.
That's what's really
Well, when they do a cliffhanger, because they don't
always do it, but
yeah,
they've had
Usually
that
what they-
run of like all of a sudden it was like, oh crap, we've
Yeah.
got to watch the next
Well,
episode.
That's what
moment,
they
you know?
do really well. Is the episode really kind of finalizes the story, kind of finalizes, but then we get a little taste of what's coming,
Right.
and so they always do that little dun 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 at the end. And
Yeah,
that's really well done.
it's kind of like Quantum Leap, where you could see him leap into something and go, "Oh, how's he going to get out of this?" And you'd have to tune in the next time to find out.
right to set up for the following.
So
week,
that's
it's
what's
there.
really doing it. I have one minor complaint at this point, and again, I'm only 6 episodes in, so it's a minor thing. They made a big deal in the pilot about how the Mansion. He's very Batman too. I didn't
Yeah,
realize
he's
Green
very
Arrow was.
Batman.
I didn't realize he was that Batman. But
He's not that much in the
comics.
In the comics, they're really. I think they were sort of capitalizing on Nolan's success of the Batman films.
I think so
And they
too,
were kinda-
because
they're kinda
he's
steering that.
the only Green Arrow that I'm familiar with is the one from the Justice League cartoon, and he's much more glib and
Yeah.
and
And he
playful.
always
way
was
in
in
the
the
comics.
comic as well.
In there too, but on the show he's much more Batman. With he was gone for 5 years and had to this and came back and okay, so they made a big deal about the Mansion's 20 miles outside of town. He says that it's
didn't
20
remember that.
miles
I didn't
outside of
remember
town. And they make a big deal of it, but then everybody drops by just to say hi, wanted to check in.
Yeah.
And you drove to Lawrence to check in somebody and see how it was going, just to deliver a message. And then the one with the Royal Flush Gang is the alarm goes off, Diggs gives them the message, they hit the bank. It was 3 minutes ago. And then we cut to the scene where they're in the tunnel and they're running and the cops are firing. And I looked at them and I said, what do you think the average Starling PD response time is for a bank heist? It's probably what? In a good case scenario, 3 minutes,
Probably.
3 to 5. They're not at the bank. They're somewhere in the sewer system or the tunnel system underneath it running back. So we know that some time has lapsed between when the alarm went off and when the cops got there and when the cops caught up to them in the tunnel. So I'll even give him 10 minutes.
There's a lot more of that, but it's
and
for
it's like,
advancement
if
of plot.
he's in there he is in the tunnel, here's Arrow. It's like he drove 20 miles from his house down to the shades so that he could go
but
to
he
the warehouse
drives a
and get his
motorcycle.
costume
drives a motorcycle like
and
$100
change
100 miles an hour.
and then get to wherever the action was at the bank.
That's
It's like,
I'll warn you right now. You're just gonna have to get used to that. It
I
doesn't
know.
go away.
I know.
Let me ask you: Has he finished the variant, the club he's building, or he wants to put
Not yet.
together? Okay.
That was the other thing that was honestly concerning me, because he built the
constraints-
layer in a week.
time
And when he starts
constraints-
talking about the nightclub, I went, if the nightclub shows up next week's episode,
Time
I'm going to be really
constraints
angry.
are cut down once the base kind of gets settled. Okay, so
What is
I'll
the
give you that.
water? Every time they're in the lair, there's like running water, or like a waterfall or a busted pipeline or something behind him. It's just something is constantly cascading water.
I never noticed it.
And I was just curious to know what that was. That
I've never noticed it either.
yeah, there's something constantly just the stream. It almost looks like the floor is wet too. And I just wonder if he's like in a really leaky.
Could be.
It's built underneath an old manufacturing plant. So, yeah.
Well, one of his dads.
Yep.
But I'm enjoying it so far. So
Queen Consolidated. Yeah, Oh,
I knew that
And
the time constraint thing was
will-
like, I'm going to.
I will also warn you. You're going to get into a little rocky patch here. Now you said you're about 6 episodes.
That's
in?
6 episodes in. I
You're
think.
going to get into a rocky patch. It never gets bad, but there was a couple in there that I was like, oh, okay, let's just get past this and
Like
move on.
I think it was.
Maybe that's when I gave up.
I think
could be.
3 and 4 were really good, and then
You'll find that too.
6 was
You'll
just kind of
find that,
okay.
yeah.
But it was just
And that's the thing is, I think the ones that are really built around a kind of a one-off story that don't advance the
filler
narrative.
episodes.
Yeah, you can really tell some in the first season. The second season, there's none of that. But in the first season, you can really tell that about halfway through, and then you'll get to one point where it just takes off, and you'll just want to watch everything to the end. And it's just wow. So, I'm so
yeah,
excited.
we did
You need to
start.
pick back up and start watching it again, so we can start talking about this.
I have to start over.
Yeah, start over.
that'd be a good time because we could be on the same wavelength.
That's true. You blow out 6 this weekend, you're good to go.
The one that just ended is he took his
That's
mom
more
out
off.
for.
They're only 40-some minutes long, so
I had him.
there's no commercials.
I could probably just find a recap somewhere and refresh myself on what happened.
He took his mom out for a burger at the end of the one episode, and they went to the whatever it was, Big Bob's or Big Belly Burgers, and she picked the burger up out of the tray, and I kind of went off. I was like, they did not make that burger. that in the history of movie hamburgers, this was the worst looking movie hamburger in the history. It was like too perfectly shaped, and it didn't look like a real burger. And she bit into it. This is a good burger. I was like, no, it isn't. The name of the place is Big Belly Burgers. I guarantee you that burger did not come out of that kitchen. The Big Kahuna Burger, I'd have bought that one because I salivate for hamburgers every time I watch Pulp Fiction. That looks like an awesome burger.
It's a comic book film.
I
Some
know.
things have to look
I have to let go of my
Well, good. I'm glad you're watching it.
Nitpickiness.
my nitpicking.
Anything else? We've been spending a lot of time on what we did, but then again, we've had a week and a half, more than a week, almost 2 weeks.
I did something else, but I'll save it for next week
Oh,
so that we have something to talk about.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
You throw it out there? You'll forget about it next week.
watched
Actually, it's
the
only 3 days from now.
We went and saw The Hobbit.
You did go see The Hobbit. Okay, well, real quick, what's your review?
yeah.
It was good.
Not as good as the first two?
No, I'm really struggling because like the first one was okay for me. The Unexpected Journey is just kind of it's there. I loved Smaug.
Yeah, Smaug is so much.
Smaug was but I'm such a Smaug fan. I love the dragon. This one is
Not a good one if you love the dragon.
Dragon. We're done.
no, the,
Title card.
have you guys seen it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, you okay? Okay.
We've been talking about it for the last 2 weeks.
Really?
Yeah,
You
I
went-
saw it opening night. You
we
were
went
like, you
opening weekend
managed to
on
go
IMAX.
see
Oh,
that
that's right,
on
yeah.
opening night. You didn't see
Okay.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes until it came out.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I forget things. I'm old.
Keep
And
it
you,
the following weekend.
you went to
Yeah, we
following
went that weekend.
Did I know
Remember,
that
he
you
complained
went
about
to
the
following?
aspect ratio at
IMAX.
He complained that
Aspect
the
ratio?
aspect ratio was wrong.
Did you go see an IMAX?
Yeah, we went to Kansas City and saw it in high frame rate in
Was
3D.
was
Yeah,
the
that's what we did.
aspect ratio wrong?
Was it
I
full?
didn't think so. It filled the screen.
Filled the screen this
So-
way, but not
so-
this way.
So Smaug, awesome. This one, the problem with this film, and I think I brought this up.
There and
when I talked
gone.
about- Yeah, the problem with this film is, and I think I talked about it, is it's all flash and very little substance is the problem, because you have now stretched out a 160 page book to 3 films. Somebody brought up the other day, you can now read the book in less time it takes you to watch all 3 films.
I'd agree.
That is true, and so
Unless you're
the
really
problem
slow
is it's beautifully done.
Oh, it was.
The battle scenes are wonderful. There's no dip in the action. It continues from beginning to end. It's beautiful. The problem is because there's not a lot left of the story.
It's got to. Yeah,
It all relies on the action and the visuals and so that to me it gave it a mark against it, because I thought I still want some of that heart. So it's almost like we're done now, with the exception of keep wanting to say Frodo, Bilbo, escaping from the have the conversation that he has with Thorin, and he leaves and he comes back, and I hope I'm not ruining anything for anybody, but
Go read
with
the book.
with the exception of that interaction and the little bit of growing romance between Kate, what's her name in the film?
I don't remember.
Kate from Lost.
Galadriel.
Yeah, and
Kate from Lost is
the elf,
The elf.
the female elf, and then the one hobbit. Or the
God,
one
until you
dwarf.
said that, I didn't realize
Felix.
that
Can't
was.
remember
I
your
did
names.
not realize that was Kate from
Yeah, it's
Lost
Kate from
until you
Lost.
said
Yeah.
that.
Oh, when I watched the Unexpected Journey, and I went, "Oh look, Kate from Lost." Or no, was it Smaug?
No,
she
she's
should have.
Smaug.
Yeah,
She saw
I
Smaug.
watched Smaug, and I went, "Oh look, it's Kate from Lost."
I saw the trailer and said, "Oh look, Kate from Lost."
That's the problem.
Red
Is
hair.
all of that heart is so spread out that it's so thin that I was missing that, because there was a lot of that in the first 2 films. And there
See,
wasn't.
I maybe it's because I'm coming on down off the high of seeing it, but it's really maybe right there with Smaug.
Oh, gosh.
I think Smaug's probably a better
This
film.
was my second favorite, because I'm with you. The first
The
film
first one
was
is just kind
the
of-
first film.
The first one's fun, but it's just like, okay, we're gonna stumble
Well,
along
there's-
until
well,
situations, and
The
that's
problem
what
is
happens.
there's a lot of character development that's
Yeah.
being built in the first film, and that's what's good and solid about that film. That's what I enjoyed the most about the film, because I love the character development. I love Fellowship of the Rings because there's all of that character development.
See, Fellowship's my favorite Lord of the Rings
well,
movie.
see, that's a near second, because my favorite, I've always told you that Two Towers,
Everybody
is my
loves Two
favorite
Towers.
film and my least favorite of that book trilogy, which just blows my mind. And of course, they cut it a little differently than
The editing makes a
Yeah.
huge difference on the enjoyment level of
but
that
this
story.
one was just I enjoyed it because of the action and the visuals and the excitement and the climax, but it just, I don't know. It's missing that. It's missing that heart that the first two.
I was a
and
little
those
concerned
relationships.
with the amount of time that was spent with the dragon sickness with Thorin,
Yeah.
because it's very similar to what the ring does to people, and it's kind of it's almost like we've seen this. You know?
I think they went too far with it.
Really?
Yeah,
Well,
think
I
they
complained
went
that
way too
they
far. It was
took
way
him to
too
a
much
point where I
love.
didn't like him anymore.
Yeah,
You're
well,
supposed
you're
to, in a
supposed
way.
to, but
Yeah, but
I love the fact though that when he got really grouchy, that it was Cumberbatch, that it was Smaug talking, that they
Oh,
overdubbed
yeah.
that. That was
That
a
was
really
a nice
cool
touch.
because
well,
it
they
kind of
overdubbed it. It was both of them, but
right, but it
yeah,
you
they
know
did the
that it
dialogue
was there.
together,
And then when he finally loses it and sinks into that pool of,
Which-
that was such a cool effect. It was,
It was
awesome.
cool, but man, that whole chunk there, I just felt like could have been narrowed a little bit.
I agree.
Should have been
Yeah,
a little-
like I said, I think they spent too much time on it. And then, but pretty much everything at the. I love the way it was shot. The whiteout conditions
Yeah,
up
yeah.
on the
Oh,
mountain,
it's wonderful.
and maybe it's because
visually, it's a stunning film.
Well, and maybe it's because so much of Middle Earth is filmed at dusk, or at least looks like it was filmed at dusk.
And most of
That
it
to give us a
very
different
earthy.
color
Everything is
palette.
very earthy.
Yeah.
and then to get that contrast, I
Yeah,
would agree with
that was
I would
that was just such a stunning moment. And then there was a part of me, I love Legolas. Legolas is in the movie, yay! But there's another part of me that's like, why is Legolas in this movie? He doesn't need to be in this movie. And then Legolas showed up. Oh my God, Legolas is back!
This one particular was a little bit of that. Okay, we got Orlando Bloom, we got Legolas, we got somebody familiar. Let's
use
let's
him.
really use him. And so
And
I
let
was
him do
like,
something familiar. Let him be the baddest guy in the room.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, and this is something I fully credit Odd Duck Phil with. Phil is a huge dwarf fanatic. Of all the fantasy anything, it's the dwarves. That's the story that he has wanted from day one. And so this was kind of it. He knew he had to wait until this movie to get his moment. And I
yeah, because
had,
you only get the how many of them are there? Like 8, 6 of them, 7, 8. There's 8 of them. You only get like the 8 of them for the first.
Well, there's 12.
Then you get a whole army. Oh,
There's
12,
12, 'cause
And
it's
then you get the
Company of
whole,
13,
that's
including
Then
Gandalf.
you get 12. then you get a whole army. that
You get a
shows
whole
up
army of
finally,
dwarves. But when the army shows up,
Billy Connolly.
and Billy Connolly,
That's my favorite part of the whole movie.
I literally in my head was like, that's it. All dwarves should be, because when I read it, all dwarves are Scottish.
Right.
That's just how it should work. And Billy Connolly's voice coming out and he's got the armored pig and he's wearing the thing. I was like, that is a dwarf.
I like how he had the horns and the pig.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah. We're watching this thing,
Mustache is all
and he
curled
comes
up.
riding up with the army, and you don't even see his face at first. You just hear his
You
voice.
just hear
his
Billy
face
Connolly.
afterwards. I couldn't see
well,
Billy Connolly in
they
his
never
face
really
at all.
do it. You never get a really good shot, a look at him. But
With all the hair and makeup and everything.
yeah, yeah.
I'm
Billy
going,
Connolly.
I don't see him
It's
in
the
there.
voice.
well, the voice is the first thing you hear, and Robert goes, "Is that?" And I said, "Yeah, that's Billy Connolly." It's like, wow.
So that was an automatic win because, like I
But
said,
you don't
when
see John Rhys Davison as Gimli, and
I don't either. I hear him, but
yeah,
I
I
don't
hear
see
it,
him.
but I don't see
Yeah.
him.
But when I read The Hobbit
First
as a
one.
kid, I just all dwarves should be Scottish. That's just how it is. And then Billy Connolly showed up as the king of the, and I was like, oh yeah, you nailed it. And it was just yet another in that long line of moments that they got so right.
Yep.
Because like with Smaug, I was so concerned that
Yeah.
they
And the-
weren't
and the
going to get him
dragon
right.
Yep.
And then he showed up and he was, and so it was just kind of like, and then there it is. You just nailed another one.
Did you happen to see the Stephen Colbert? His last week of shows, he actually interviewed Smaug,
I heard about
heard
it.
about it.
and
too. I
they
didn't
used a
watch it.
CGI dragon, and it looked phenomenal. It was so good. It was hilarious, and of course, it was Benjamin Cumberbatch, Benedict Cumberbatch, doing the voice and everything. And my favorite moment of that
Legolas.
was when they're talking about doing the film, and he says, "Yeah." He said, "Have you seen it yet?" And he said, "No, I haven't had a chance to see it since we did the film, and I'm really looking forward to it because my glorious presence on the screen, blah blah blah." And Stephen Colbert said, "You don't know what happens," and he goes, "No, I have to wait till I see it." And he goes, "Well, I'll give you a little hint that this movie's going to get you right here." Oh, that's so classic.
But yeah, there were so many things that they did right in this movie, and even the little touches, the elf king riding up on an elk.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we've seen elephants and horses and ponies and now mountain goats and pigs and all kinds of things that you can ride into battle. I think I'm going to have to take my hat off to the guy that rides into battle on an elk with the
Yeah,
gigantic antlered rack.
And
That
then
was-
seeing the elk fights and
I
use
know!
the hammers.
Yeah, knocking all of the.
That was even more impressive. It
all the
wasn't just
orcs off
a
the side of the-
ceremonial ride. It was a
He
weapon.
scoops them all up and
You know what
Just-
you know what the movies do really well too is Smaug. You just despise the king. You just hate this guy. You hate the elf king. You just he's not
yeah.
the elf king, not the
Thurindle.
yeah
Thurindle,
There
thank you.
go, Thurindle.
He paced
You
such a
you
good
don't
job.
Like him. He does a great job. You detest him, and by the end of the movie, you're like, oh, God, you're such
So
a
swarmy.
You're such a. No, I can't say the word. And so then, in this one, you start off the same way, going, "Oh, you're so smarmy, and you're so high and mighty, and you think you're all that." And they just as the character develops, you just start to really like him, and then feel bad for him, and then really understand his position.
Yeah.
And I went, "That's good storytelling, right there."
yeah. It was really well done.
And he becomes sympathetic, and he grows as a character. So that was above and beyond.
I am angry that one weasel guy made it.
Oh yeah, the unibrow.
Not since Ike in Tombstone have I ever wanted a character to die so bad.
Here's the other problem with this movie is where the humor is sprinkled in really well in the first two films. The humor feels pushed and shoved and
I could see that.
just really shoehorned into this. And they seem to use him as the comic relief now because you can't really
no
use
one else.
You can't use the dwarves anymore. You can't.
Well,
use,
Stephen Fry bought it early.
oh well,
too.
yeah. Stephen Fry's gone early. So
When I saw that happen, I thought, "Oh, Glenn's
so that's
not
where,
going to be happy."
yeah. Well, he was kind of a despicable guy anyway, but
But it's still
yeah,
Stephen
it was
Fry.
Stephen Fry. And anyway, so that's the other thing that I felt was poorly done was the use of the comedy in it, and it felt sometimes just too slapstick. And we're in the middle of this epic war, this battle, with everything going on and people dying in it, and this guy's still doing clumsy slapsticky things. And I was like, okay, you had me for that first, third of the film with doing that. Now you're continuing that on. That needs to have gone away.
Yeah.
We need
Let's focus more on the
heaviness
intents
film.
of the-
Yeah, it's an intense.
And he's just because he's such an unlikable character anyway. I think that kind of helped to add to that.
Right.
Mess with
I'm
him.
ready to be done with this guy.
But,
I was waiting for an orc just to step on him. And he
Yeah,
didn't.
I know. We kept getting to that. And here comes his moment to die. Not yet. Just so ready for him to go away. And then, the trio. Kate Blanchett goes in to
Oh, yeah. That was a neat scene.
and
With the necromancer.
and the necromancer, and we're there. And I'm like, you didn't go in there yourself. Tell me you didn't go in there alone. And then Hugo shows up. And then Christopher Lee shows up. And he is metal.
Yeah.
Oh, man. It's just for 80, what is he, 89 now or
I
something?
think we talked about this too. Did you get the impression though that they were kind of hinting to, in Smaug at least, they were hinting to the, well, even in the first film,
It was more in the first one.
Yeah,
I don't think he was in the second.
In the
one.
first film, they kind of hint to this like maybe little like cloud that he's like maybe already conniving in it.
Yeah.
I didn't get that in this one. I got the idea that was just kind of put out there so that we felt that way. But this in this scene, it really seems like he was very genuine and still hadn't turned, and that it's the pursuit of Sauron. Too many. Don't use similar name. Sauron. It was his pursuit of Sauron because he went off, and that's what sets up the event.
Leave him to me.
That's
That-
what,
yeah.
ended up corrupting him. So, the impression I got.
Yeah, well, you watch that battle scene. There's no way that he's not pulling his punches. or
Right.
anything.
Oh yeah,
He's-
no.
So
absolutely
it just
not.
all of a sudden makes everything that happened in the
was a battle
first
royale.
film.
Yeah,
He's just grumpy.
he's just grumpy.
He's just okay. And I the three of them and and things are, and I'm going, get up, Gandalf. You want a piece of this? I was just,
I loved when they start the battle and Sylvester shows up with his leg. Come on, Gandalf, and puts him in the chain and take off. That was awesome.
Sylvester was great for
Come on,
not
Sylvester,
having much
yay!
left
Yeah, not
to
much
do.
left to
But
do.
again, I mean, it's more than Radagast got in the book.
yeah.
So
Well, Radagast wasn't even in the book. He was
name dropped.
That's right. He was name dropped, but he also, I believe, in some of the those appendix types collections.
Silmarillion or whatever.
Yes,
it
the
is.
Silmarillion. I think he's in that a little bit more, but he's at least fleshed out in that one.
Well, I mentioned in my review that I had questions about it afterwards. I thought of a couple more, like what happened to the Oakenstone? Does Bard still have it? And now who's the king
I
under the
forgot all
mountain?
about the Oakenstone.
Who's
They kinda
now
dropped
who's
that,
king of
didn't
the under the mountain now?
Billy Connolly.
Is he?
He becomes the. I don't remember where in the
I
book
didn't catch
at
that
point
line.
said.
Well,
I don't think
they
they
didn't mention it.
They
in the movie.
did. You're right. They didn't bring that up,
Yeah,
but
they-
I think I didn't have that
the-
question
all the-
because I knew. Well,
Yeah.
but he's also name dropped in the
first?
the Ring of the Lord of the Rings
Oh, yeah.
trilogy when they're talking about because everything that happened to the dwarves and that happened like in between because the city fell obviously again and the orcs overran
Yeah.
but he's mentioned in that as well, so I already came into it going, well, they're going with that.
Okay,
So.
I didn't not remembering that. I was left going, well, who's now in charge? Because the dwarfs that
that's
survived
different.
were still standing
That's
there.
different than
waving
Moria,
goodbye.
though. The dwarves still have the Lonely Mountain in the time of the Lord of the Rings, don't
Right,
they?
right, but not. Yeah, Moria is
But Moria's
is in this. Yeah, but that in that conversation when they're talking about, remember Gimli, I think, is he's talking to Legolas or he's talking to somebody or he's talking to Frodo, and he's laying out all of their triumphs and how the history of
Right.
Yeah, and that's where it's laid
Okay.
out that he became he didn't become. From that you just assume he was the leader of.
He took charge.
Yeah,
he took charge of it.
Okay.
But yeah, in the book, he takes charge of it. I don't remember what happened to the
I'm
Arkenstone.
assuming Bard gave it back to him, but it would have been a nice moment. Maybe it'll be in the extended edition. Where
Probably,
here you go.
yeah.
This belongs to you guys. It should be here. Who knows?
But yeah, just and then the end climax of Thorne's fight was everything about that worked, and the simplicity.
Yeah.
I can't say it because I don't want to ruin it for anybody who hasn't seen it. But yeah, so I'm really riding high on the emotion of watching that. I really, really enjoyed this one. Much more than I actually thought I was going to.
It was good, and I still will maintain that it didn't need to be stretched out into 3 films. I think 2 films would have been survived. Even 1 film would have survived. But
I think so too. And for all of the fault of that, I mean, I think what the Hobbit series does well is it does hit those moments from the book. I mean,
they're too spread out.
Well, anybody's
Like,
going to look at
stretching
this
it
and
out.
say, what do we need? What do we genuinely need? We need to see him get the ring. We need to see the dragon. And we need to see the battle.
Yeah.
Those are really the important
And
bits.
quite frankly, Peter Jackson was wise in the way that he took those 3 and made those the center of each piece.
Yeah.
So yeah, it worked.
Because there's not much of the battle.
No.
You know, and I like the fact that the Eagles had their kind of just what I remember from the book, which was I think a paragraph of, and then the Eagles showed up and we won. Which is really how it happens. It's just like,
You know what I think was funny too?
that was it? Okay.
Is at one point one of the guys we were with, that one of Robert's friends, he started counting. And he said, "Wait, isn't this called Battle of the 5 Armies?" He said, "There's only." I think at that point there were only 3. No, there was 4. No, there was 3. He said, "There's only 3," and I said, "Oh, just wait." And then of course we knew the orcs were coming. And then he was like, "But that's still only 4." I said, "Oh, just wait." We're getting there.
I had that issue with it too because I thought it was kind of cheating. The birds aren't really an
Well,
army because it comes in and just whoops.
But
it
I take
off
that
and-
I take that 2 ways because you could either apply that to the Eagles being one of the factions, but they were fighting alongside the other faction. So
Of course, by the time the orcs show
I
up,
think
it becomes
the
2
impression
factions.
is not well. I think the impression is that first orc army that was led by what's his name, the big guy, the head guy.
Azog.
The other army is that army that was being forged in the mountain. Is what the 5th army is.
But they were all still being led by Azog.
Again, that's the
Yeah.
problem is there.
You can't count the
technically,
orcs
if
as-
you're going to use that for both sides, there were 6 armies there. But yeah, it's
There was one orc army.
Yeah.
There was man. There was
Man,
elf.
elf,
There was
dwarf,
dwarf, and there was eagle.
and eagle. Yeah,
that's
so that's
how that
how
plays
you.
out.
It's like having Tom Baker in the 5 Doctors. It's that's what it is,
Sort of.
for me.
Anything
anyways.
else? We move on to news,
No,
so we
we
don't
move on to
bore our
news.
listeners anymore with everything that we did. this
Go
week.
see the Hobbit.
I'm the one that told you. Go ahead, talk about it.
Well, I tried. I was going to hold the story, but no.
Nah, it's quite all right. I'm glad you saw it finally.
I am too. I enjoyed it.
Our first bit of news is a bit of sad news. An actor, Bernard Kay, has passed away at the age of 86. Bernard was in 2 of the first Doctor stories.
He was in the Daleks.
The Dalek Invasion of Earth.
Or Dalek Invasion.
And in The Crusade. He will later be alongside Patrick Troughton
2
in The
incomplete
Faceless
stories.
Ones.
3 incomplete stories.
And then John Pertwee in Colony in Space.
1 complete story.
And then he also guest starred in... Wait, isn't Dalek Invasion of Earth a complete story?
No.
What?
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm confusing it with the Dog Master Plan. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
2 complete
Dog
stories.
Master.
2 complete stories.
He also later was on an audio adventure called Night Thoughts with Sylvester McCoy. And as a nice little tidbit, he co-starred in Carry On Sergeant.
Oh,
Which happens to be on our schedule for
Yeah.
we'll be watching
later
that
this
soon.
month.
Yeah.
And he's done a lot of other stuff. He's got a long career.
Of course, our hearts are heavy that we've lost another actor, Doctor Who. Some more uplifting news.
Some more... anybody thinking about going to British Fest, now there's 2 Doctor Who guests. Jason Connery has been announced. Now, if you don't know who Jason Connery is, he was in Vengeance on Varos as kind of the guy that was getting tortured when the Doctor shows up.
The hunky blonde guy.
The hunky blonde guy, who, yes, is Sean Connery's son.
Yes.
Hey, the opportunity to be that close to Indiana Jones' dad.
Once removed.
Still.
Sure.
To be that close to the guy that was raised by James Bond. Okay. Oh, and he was in Doctor Who? Score.
I didn't realize that's who that was
Yep.
until that announcement came out. And then finally, John Hurt has been knighted. He's now Sir John Hurt,
Sir John Hurt.
or Sir War Doctor.
Did I see it? James Corden got wasn't knighted, but did he get an MEB or MIB or something? MEB.
He's been made an officer of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire,
Okay,
or
that's what it
OBE,
was. OBE.
OBE.
That's what I'm looking for. Yeah, he got an OBE as well. So
and he was honored with an award.
yeah. So
Congratulations,
congratulations to both of them.
John Hurt definitely deserves being a sir.
I didn't realize until I was listening to
Kind of surprising that he's not, but,
by
it
now.
seems
Yeah.
odd that you would
Well,
think he would be at this
another
point.
thing that kind of surprised me is I didn't realize that until I listened to a NPR radio program that I listened to. Wait, don't tell me. It's a panel. I think I've talked about it before. It's a panel show. They have comedians on there and they ask current
Oh,
events.
wait,
news. Yeah.
don't tell me. Yeah.
And I listened to recently one that I think Patrick Stewart was on a month and a half ago, maybe even last month. And I didn't realize that he'd been recently knighted. He
A
hasn't
while
been,
ago.
He hasn't been knighted for. I know was it this year? It wasn't. Hasn't. It's been more recent than.
It's been long enough for him to have his Twitter handle as Sir Pat Stew.
Oh, that's right. I forgot he did.
I looked it up. According to Wikipedia, he was made a Knight Bachelor in 2010.
2010. Oh gosh, it's been more
So
recent
it's
or
been
more longer ago than I thought.
longer.
4 years ago.
I didn't realize that until they were talking to him. So anyway, one thing I should say about this, and I'm not poo-pooing knighthoods. But I think that we sort of, I think maybe in the recesses of our mind, because we're geeks and we like fantasy.
It sounds cooler.
It sounds a lot
He's a
cooler than it
knight.
really is. I mean, it's certainly a high honor for someone to
very
be
high
knighted
honor.
by her queen, Her Majesty the Queen, but. On the flip side of that, I mean, really, it's not like he's going out and slaying dragons for her or anything. It's, I mean, it's really an honorary
Oh,
title
that
now.
would be
and it's-
counterintuitive since he played a dragon in Merlin.
That's true. It's more. Well, he played a dragon in. Oh no, that was Connery played dragon in Dragonheart.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like it really recognizes their work in furthering of the British, ideals, and it's more for their work and for their representation of Britain and in the arts or in science or anything that they're knighted for. So I mean, I'm not trying to bring it down and say, but I think sometimes we get, oh, wait a knight, yay! I mean, I think it's mostly because in the recesses of our mind we're like, ooh, dragons and
Well, yeah.
shiny metal armor and.
It's been romanticized.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
what I'm
definitely,
looking
yeah.
for. Yeah, so-
I would
but
not be
congratulations.
complained if
Yeah,
I had
you
been
wanna
knighted.
be- it's funny.
She should knight our podcast.
There's a contingency of people out there that are completely against anybody that, and I think there are a handful of people that are not citizens of that are citizens of the United States that have been knighted, but technically, or maybe it's another title bestowed on you, but they point to a amendment, or is it even not even an amendment? No, it's not in the Bill of Rights, but it's an amendment to our Constitution that says you cannot hold a title outside and still be a citizen of the United States. You can't hold a title outside of the United States. And I thought, that's just kind of silly.
But it's a holdover from the bad old days.
That's exactly what it is, from the Revolution.
Well, that's it for news. Let's move on.
There's probably something that says they're not supposed to knight non-British citizens.
That's what
anyway.
I think it's another
It probably
title that can be
goes both ways.
bestowed on somebody that is not.
To which I would point, Lancelot was not born in England.
Yeah, well,
he was French.
I think you can knight somebody that is of British citizenship. So whether you were born outside the country or not, as long as you're a citizen.
And wouldn't, under that time, it would still be under the crown?
No,
at
that point it was
most of the United, the Queen of England or whoever was.
France was never a part of the British Empire.
France was never part of the British Empire.
British Empire.
Yeah, no.
France was never.
Now the Catholic Church, yes, but not France as part of the British Empire. That wouldn't have flown.
Catholic Church wasn't part of the British Empire either.
No, but France might have been part of the.
I see.
The Roman Catholic, which is kind of
because. Yeah, no, you're certainly right there.
Yeah, I do know a thing or two.
Well, I thought you were saying that the Catholic Church never really was ever it's always been the Church of England. So the monarchs set up their own church.
Yeah,
because all of the rest of Europe had the Catholic.
Yeah,
all under the Vatican. Anyway, so let's move on to feedback.
First up in feedback, Time Lord Ben sent in some audio. Let's take a listen.
Hello, Vortex boys. Time Lord Ben here. I wanted to go back to audio after listening to your last episode today at work, based simply on your kind words. I'm sure we're all hard on ourselves for something or another, and in my case, it's my voice. I've never liked the way I sound on recorded form, but it was nice to hear that really I'm probably the only one that feels that way about myself, or at least I hope. So anyway, I just wanted to say a quick thank you about that. And there were a few things that I heard today that I liked. Some made me giggle more than others. But a quick mention, you guys did a quick spot on The Sorcerer's Apprentice. I think it was kind of an afterthought to some other topic you were going over. And I would just put out there that, you know what, I like that movie too. It's easy. It's a fun watch. You know, you don't really have to sit and spend a lot of time trying to figure out what's going on. It's kind of laid out there for you. And I like that. So that's a fun one. Bit more serious, though, which is, I'm sure, not what they ever intended, but is the interview. With North Korea deciding to do its whole big thing, in regard to what they thought of the movie and what they chose to do about it. Really, I think they've done nothing but drum up interest in the movie. Had they not decided to raise a stink about it, most of us probably wouldn't have given it much more than a passing thought. For me, and I clearly have not seen it, so I can't base this on anything more than speculation, but for me, I kind of look at it and think it's probably one of those movies where a lot of the good scenes, a lot of the really funny stuff, we've probably already seen in the trailers and the TV commercial trailers. I've seen, I don't know how many movies where I thought, boy, this is going to be really, really funny. And you get there and you watch it and it's a whole lot of filler material, which is not really that great, all bookended around these funny bits that you've seen in the trailers. So my review of it, without ever having seen it, would be, this is probably a rental, not a buy. Is it worth theater dollars? Probably not, realistically. I'd wait for a much cheaper format than, what you're going to spend at a theater on tickets and snacks and whatever have you. But, it's like you guys said, no press is bad press. And Sony is probably in the end going to make out like a bandit on this one. Moving on to something I am thoroughly excited about, and that's Star Wars. Now, if they're able to avoid a Jar Jar Binks-like debacle with Episode 7, this could truly be an epic film. I grew up in the 70s, which, yes, makes me old in my kids' eyes at least, which they have never failed to tell me. But I grew up with A New Hope and Empire and Return, and I can remember when Return was named Revenge for just about a moment. And they were great films. They were my childhood films. And as much as I have liked bits and pieces of the prequels, I don't know that they were as stellar as what I think of as the first three. I know that I've heard various criticisms over the years of the prequels, and I'm kind of hoping that they've taken these things to heart, because I know they listen, and I hope that they put all those things into play and avoid any of the same mistakes, because if they do, it could really truly be epic. Now, I've heard some of the criticisms of the new film, much like you guys have, with the soccer ball droid, which, you got to come up with something new, and as things go, I didn't think this was all that bad. If you look at a lot of what has been in the old films, you can find real-life versions. They've kind of adapted, to a degree, some things that you can find in everyday life. So I don't have a problem with that, per se. And as far as the lightsaber goes, I actually thought it was kind of cool. I'm not going to come in defense of it necessarily, but to knock it because it's got these two little mini lightsabers coming out the sides, which in effect would be like hilt guards. It's just new. It's different. Again, I'm not going to knock it. If it works, it works. I don't think it's going to make or break the film by any stretch. And, I actually personally hope that one day we'll get further films which would center around the old Republic. And boy, if people hate this new lightsaber, wait till they see some of the stuff that's come before. And I know that it's not canon because they've decided to just, pardon the language, but piss away the expanded universe, which what I'm thinking of specifically are the books, which I've read quite a lot of, and I think they're phenomenal. Some of the best Star Wars stories, in my opinion, have come from the books. Now, as great as they are, I don't remember all of the titles, but there's one specifically that the title escapes me, but I recall, and I'm going to throw this out there as a little tidbit of what somebody wouldn't like if they don't like this new lightsaber, but I thought it was neat, and kind of comical at the same time. But I can recall one of the books where they referenced the lightsaber in the Old Republic. We're talking 3,000 to 4,000 years before New Hope. And during a lightsaber battle, they described having power packs attached to their belts and a cord coming off the power pack and attaching to the lightsaber. Yep, you heard it. They had corded lightsabers. Now, it's a bit like explaining to a kid nowadays what a corded phone was like. I just don't think they would grasp the concept. And for me, where it became humorous a little bit when I was reading the story is thinking, what if he became unplugged right during the middle of a stroke and whoops, there's nothing there, and what's going to happen now, Hold on, wait a second while I replug myself, So anyway, my point to that was just, don't be too hard on it until you see it. Everybody's judging. I've heard a lot of criticism of those two things. So I would say kind of hang off, see what the film's like. Those two things aren't going to make or break the thing. Going away from movies, You guys mentioned kind of the Clara, Danny, and Orson bit. And while it's true that Moffat trolls us and he lies, as it were, for me, I'm going to hold this to be true still. The simplest explanation is still usually the best. Having said that, for me, that is that while Danny and Clara may not have seemed to be together for too long, I've heard it postulated that in reality, in between visits to the TARDIS, they've had years together. At least a year or two. And in that time, it is more than conceivable that they would have had time to have children, or at least conceive a child prior to Danny's death. So I still think that's the simplest answer. I think it's the one that you're going to find, but you know, who knows with Moffat what he'll wind up doing. I imagine and I suspect we'll find out before too long, but you know, you just never know. Sticking with the Doctor Who theme, I read something on, it's either comicbooknews.com or comicbook.com. I don't recall which one or what it's, you know, what it's specifically called. But James Corden, Craig, I believe, from The Lodger. This is kind of paraphrasing it a little bit, but this is the general sense I got. He more or less hates the Marvel movies. Now, that's not his words. And he did say in the article that, you know, to each his own and this and that, whatever. But his take on it is really that the people in those movies don't do much acting. It kind of, to me, I got a condescending vibe from it. And I was a little disappointed, I'll be honest with you. I liked Craig. In both stories, I know the second story he was in really wasn't as good as the first, but I liked him. He had that kind of lovable, you know, easygoing kind of guy character. And again, I know it's a character. People in real life can be completely different, but I'm still disappointed. Personally, even though not all of them have been stellar, by and large, Marvel movies are great. You know, I haven't really found one I've been completely disappointed in yet, although I'll say too, I haven't seen all of them. And even the bad ones, I mean, they're still good for a rainy afternoon. But anyway, that's just me. Next up, Legacy. So, yes, I did play, I think, literally based on you guys continually talking about it. I gotta admit, the first time around, it didn't really grab me. So I didn't keep up with it. I got rid of it, you know. But, you know, hey, I redid it today. I re-downloaded it. I actually went to do it at work. But because I'm not on a Wi-Fi system there, I had to wait till I got home, because it was over 100 megabit, and it won't do that over cellular data. So I did that. I've played it a little bit tonight. I gotta admit, I'm kind of confused. I know you guys ramble on about a whole lot of things, and I'm sure that at some point I would be able to do the same, but for now, I'm just a bit confused. The different colors of the little things you move around. I figured out that they don't have to be next to each other, that you can drag them from one side to the other, but I don't know. I'll give it a go. I won't be so quick to dismiss it this time, although now I really wish I would have saved all those codes I sent you guys, and I'm sure I can find them again, but now it'll just be a little bit more work for me. And boy, if I do stick with Legacy this time, I really should have gone to the silent auction at Chicago TARDIS and bid on that master unlock code that would literally unlock everything to the game. Although we didn't go to that, and I have no idea what that code went for. I never did ask anybody. So anyway, looking at my list, I think that's just about it. Although I would add one other thing, and that is the backblast did work. I found my notes for my last feedback that I typed to you guys, and if I'm recalling correctly, I did review them. I don't think I forgot anything, so I must have committed the notes to memory well enough that I got it right the first time around. But I wanted to let you know that I did find them. So anyway, for this week, I think that's about it. Again, I enjoyed the show. You guys definitely get me through my day. Tomorrow is Christmas Eve, so I want everybody to be safe. I hope Santa brings you all what you'd like and that you all have a Merry Christmas, although I'm sure you'll hear from me before that, and have a Happy New Year. So everybody take care, and I will talk to you later. See you guys. Wouldn't you know it, I always forget one thing. Well, here it is. As much as I know the voices behind the Vortex boys, for whatever reason, I'm seriously horrible with names. So apologies to Keith for calling you out on feedback, when in fact I should have called out Sean. So chastising me for forgetting names, but still chastising Sean for not looking at my pictures when he chastised me on the previous episode. Did you follow all that? I think I did. Anyway, yes, you have failed the fandom. Check my pictures. Anyway, take care, guys. Have a Merry Christmas. We'll see you later.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you, Ben.
And thank you for correcting about the chastising.
Yes,
Shame on you, Sean.
I'm sure Keith appreciates that, and I stand properly chuffed.
In the books he's trying to recall, it was actually in Tales of the Jedi. It was the Proto-Saber.
That's what it was.
Okay.
Tales of the Jedi was the comic series.
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
I think it was revisited in some of the other books in like flashbacks when they talked about it. In fact, I think I remember them recalling them in, or if there's a flashback in Vector Prime when they're in the Legacy books, and they talked about the Proto-Sabers and how cumbersome they were because they weren't connected to it. That's because the power supply was actually on a belt. It had a cable that went up to the hilt, or the handle went into the hilt, and then the crystal was still directed in the handle, if I remember right. The power supply, just like phones and computers, you had an external power supply.
The old-fashioned video cameras that had the power supply or the tape deck down here, and
So same concept. I think they had retro sabers too, and I don't remember exactly what those did, but the Proto-Saber was actually the first lightsaber. They were abandoned later when they realized that they could get the power supply in the handle of the saber.
And Ben, as far as Legacy goes, just kind of need to play with it a little bit. It took me a while too to get the hang of the game, and you don't have to go next to each other either.
And he was chatting online with Chris over at Radio Free Scaro. I noticed. I was looking at one of his streams, and Chris pointed him to a wiki page that has all of the codes listed that are still available and the ones that have expired. So I'm presuming that between the time that he sent this feedback and the time that he talked to Chris on Twitter, he's probably got those codes now. So
hopefully.
Go through and get those. Actually, I went back through those recently because there was one that came down that I had. It was like, I think Clara was part of it in a costume and something else. And one of them was time crystals. And I don't think I ever put it in because I thought, well, I have Clara, not even thinking about the time crystals. Went back and put it in recently. I didn't get anything else, but I got the time crystals. So nice. It really benefits you to go back and grab those codes that haven't been expired. Put them in, even check the ones you maybe, like some of them I went in and put in because I forgot if I'd gotten them or not. And that was the only one that dropped anything for me, was that one that had the crystals attached to it. So it benefits you to go to the wiki page. I don't have the address right here. Maybe we'll have it by the time we do show notes. And maybe I'll look back in the Twitter stream because, like I say, Chris linked to it. So, but it really benefits you to go back and pick those codes up because there might have been some you missed. There might have been some that you weren't aware of. Or there might have been some that had things that, like I did, where you actually still could benefit from that code even if you had a majority of the. Some of them, they had 3 or 4 things you'd get. Yeah. But you'll still get that one item that you didn't get. So
yeah.
And as always, we very strongly recommend that if you have not yet subscribed to the newsletter from Tiny Rebel, because they usually have a code in that. And this week you get 5 of every type of time fragment.
And I want to thank you, Sean, because your idea and suggestion of using the crystals to level up the characters to level 5 has helped boost my tank team. Well, Glenn too. I guess it was it you? Did you
suggested it to him,
suggested
who
it to
in
me.
turn did it.
He did it,
who
and
in
then
turn
praised it,
suggested
and
it to you.
Because
I will take
Wait,
that
sir.
credit where credit's due.
Okay, Glenn. Thank you.
Because in fairness, I don't think at the time that Glenn said it, I wasn't in a position to have anybody up that high, and so it was kind of yet another in a long line of things that Glenn said about Legacy is like, eh. I kind of dismissed
I'm not that
it.
far yet.
Yeah, I'll worry about that tomorrow.
That's the problem with being so far ahead of you guys.
Yeah.
You guys are just now discovering stuff I
And that's
learned
why I
months
give-
ago.
That's why I gave Sean the credit, was
Yeah,
because
yeah,
he
I-
remembered what
I-
you said. And,
taking-
but
Yeah.
legitimately thought I had
Retroactive
thought
credit.
of that on my own, and it turns out no. Keith
well,
Glenn said it.
yeah, now that you mention it, I do remember the conversation pre-mic of even, oh no, I don't want to do the instant upgrade, and then you pointed it out.
Yeah, and then he
So
said,
now
"No,
I
you
have
should
my
do it
whole
this way."
tank team up past level 5 or whatever the previous level max was, and now being
40.
able. Yeah, I'm past level 40 now.
You're probably on your way to 50 almost.
Yeah, yeah.
So you've probably got 2 crystals for each of those ones that are past 40.
Yeah.
Or do you have to reach 50 to get the 2 crystals? No, it's once you get past
crystals.
40.
We need
40,
the two
then it
colors.
costs
Two
you
colors.
two.
Two colors.
Two colors.
Yeah.
Yes,
Two
two
colors.
colors.
I'm sorry,
It
don't
costs
say crystals.
two crystals to level 1.
Yes, I meant
and
the
one of
colors.
them,
the gems, 2 gems.
I was able to go back and farm and get. I think I used it on Canine to boost him up without having to spend the crystals. But my entire, and now I'm moving through chapter 3 finally again.
Yeah,
Which makes such a big difference. I was able to go and get Mickey, which I wasn't able to do before.
I tell you, the most important thing, since we're talking about that, the most important thing about this game is that I lagged on behind for a long time was leveling those characters up. Because if you can max those guys out, you'll do so much better. In fact, that's what I'm doing now. Is not only because I think I talked a couple weeks ago about going and getting as many stars as I could so I can unlock some of those extra perk levels. That's weird. So that I could, open some more of those perks up. So I got everybody up to level 10. I don't have anybody that's below a level 10 now.
Yeah.
But not only to do that, but then I've gone to some of my ones that I had, leveled quite a ways up, and now I'm pushing those guys up into those double gems because they really benefit you because you're getting twice as many hits because you get 2 gems now, and you're getting to boost those levels up with the added points you get to the
well, and
ability.
just the added color. There used to be I would lob a hit and barely anything, but now with with everybody having multiple colors, it makes such a huge difference.
Well, it's nice
It's
because
reinvigorated my interest in the game actually because I was waning there for a while.
it makes a huge difference when you can play. Like I traditionally play with like a two color team. That way, I can kind of throw all of my whumph into that, And when you get a board that's, blue and pink, when you're playing green and yellow, all of a sudden it's like, but when you have somebody that also has those double colors,
Yeah.
even the accidental, oh hey,
Because
look, I got a
they
red
aren't-
combo,
they aren't
but
as
somebody's
strong.
got
now
red.
it counts.
Yeah, it still counts for something. It may not
Right.
do much, but it's
Not
still
as much, but yeah.
it's still a nice thing to have.
Yeah, and I have found that, and I'm going to encourage this to anybody that plays this because I mean, if you're still battling through levels, just keep going. But I was lamenting the fact that I was having some downtime between the rest of Chapter 4 and because we just got the prologue a few weeks ago, and I was lamenting the fact that I have to wait again. But I've actually have spent a lot of time leveling characters, gathering fragments, because that's the important thing is make sure you're farming fragments because then that's the nice thing is about if you go in there with a really tank team, you can go back to earlier chapters or seasons, and you can now the earlier you go in the chapters, the less experience points that you get. But now I can dip. I was dipping back into 1 and 2, and I just step up through them just to try to drop those fragments. Now I can get in and get the level, the experience points that I need to level up by going into something say like chapter 3. With a really powerful team and not spend hours on one level. I can knock through it, get a lot of experience points, and farm some of those time fragments. Make sure you're overloading yourself with time fragments. Max those out if you can, because those are once you get to a point where you have to level up, you not only have to have all of that experience, you also have to have those time fragments in order to get to that next
speaking
level.
as I lost them all when I had to reset my phone. Those time fragments are very important, and you you take them for granted until you
really
run out
do.
of them.
Yeah.
You know what I took it granted for? Were blues and greens. Because I was always getting blues and greens. And I had so many blues and greens. And then when I decided to finally go star up everybody, get enough stars to open some perks, I blew through so many blues and greens. And now I'm going back and having to farm blues and greens, which I haven't had to do forever. So that's kind of
Mine's black and green.
mind-blowing,
I'm
is it?
still low on black.
I'm low on a lot of black.
Black, green, and blue tend to be the three that I seem to not.
because lower in the game with your characters that are still down there. Those are the first ones they need. When you get up into like the doctors and you're trying to start maxing out, that's when you need those new, fancy retro ones that came out in the update.
And those are the ones that I had to spend the time crystals to get because I don't have those. Mostly were in the fan area too.
Right. That's the nice thing about unlocking that fan area.
That's why I need to do
You've
that.
You've got to unlock that fan area because you'll get a lot of those there.
Yeah. So that's
not to mention you get a 12th Doctor costume on the if you play the Last Christmas level in the fan area.
Well, maybe I can
you
get
get the sparkly black jumper.
Yes.
I actually.
magician outfit.
My second tank team, I'm kind of now maxed out to the point, and I've started to sub out some characters, and so I'm languishing a little bit in my part 3 run through. Mm-hmm. But I did click over 300 stars.
Yay!
So I just unlocked a new perk that I'm looking forward to trying out.
Well, 320 is as far as you need to go now. Although I read in the newsletter this week that they're adding another perk. But 320 is the top. That'll allow you to lock everything that's not in the S perk area. And I now almost have all of the S perks because that's what I've been using my crystals I've been getting now for is unlocking those bonus perks that you can actually purchase for time crystals. So keep going, keep pushing, just keep pushing. And
Robert, stick with it.
Yeah, I was worried about this thing getting monotonous, but it doesn't. I mean, even playing levels that you've done before, when you're dropping stuff and you've got goals, you've got achievements to hit. It's a lot of fun. Keep going.
It does get frustrating when you play a level and it doesn't drop what you need.
It does. Yeah.
Let us know how you're doing.
All right. Next up in feedback, Duck Phil. He writes, question, comment. Ho, ho, humakavula! Hey, who
I don't think that's ever getting old.
Nope. This thought came to me today. I wanted to get in before the Christmas episode airs in case it comes up. So let's take a look at Santa Claus. He's over 1,000 years old. In that time, he's had the same man. In that time, he's the same man. His appearance, attire, and a few habits and mannerisms have changed here and there. He has the capacity to deliver massive amounts of presents all around the world in a single night, suggesting mastery of time and space, and that his bag of presents is probably bigger on the inside. I wonder if he has 2 hearts. Merry Christmas, Odd Duck Phil. P.S. And now you're probably picturing the reindeer and sleigh rocketing through the vortex, and the Doctor Who theme playing with an added jingle bells.
So what do we think? Could Santa be a Time Lord?
No.
Why?
Because this kind of purports that... Well, let's talk about that when we do the review.
His name's Jeff.
I was really curious how we were going to have Santa explained away in the Doctor Who universe. I thought they did a really nice job of it. But let's save that for review.
Pre-last Christmas, could he have been a Time Lord?
well, yes.
Obviously, because if you go by the things that we reviewed in our Christmas special, he has physically met Santa and that, if you count that as part of your continuity or canon.
Duh.
And why couldn't Time Lords, if they sometimes can choose their appearance, why not just stay the same?
Well, I don't know. I think it kind of explains the different
and the
cultures
the slight
having
variations.
Because the Father Christmas of the UK, up until about 10, 15, 20 years ago, was a very spindly man with the long beard. The one that we get in Narnia, Chronicles of Narnia, in the first one, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. That's very much the or at least at the turn of the century of the last century, Father Christmas or Santa Claus. That's kind of the
that was before we started pumping Santa full of the saturated fats and everything, and all these store-bought cookies.
And milk, and Up next in feedback is Holly.
Holly writes, Last Christmas. Hey guys, hope everyone had a very Merry Christmas. What a Christmas special. We get Santa, Rudolph, and Dan Starkey in a non-Strax role as Ian the Elf. Overall, I enjoyed it. My review might jump around a bit, and I may miss a few things, but here goes. Nice use of Slade's Merry Xmas Everybody, as shown as Earbug. My dad listened to Slade's while I was growing up, so I knew about this song and how Slade was the original artist that did Come On Feel the Noise, and a few other songs made famous by Quiet Riot, so that brought back some good memories. Music tangent aside, back to the Christmas special. It was nice to see Danny again, and the moments between him and Clara had just the right amount of emotion. The Doctor and Clara also finally telling each other the truth was a good thing, though I'm wondering if we're not going to revisit that again in the future. Nick Frost as Santa was a great bit of casting. Wouldn't mind him making a return appearance in another special down the road. The Doctor getting to drive Santa's sleigh was cool, and the look of joy on the Doctor's face was priceless. The scene near the end with the Doctor going back to save Clara only 62 years later had me tearing up a little. And the Doctor helping Clara with the Christmas cracker was very reminiscent of Clara helping the 11th Doctor when she visited him in the town called Christmas. The dream crabs / sleepers were creepy and homage-worthy of the movie Alien, and at the end, when we see a list of the movies that Shauna had on Miracle, and Miracle on 34th Street and Aliens was on that list, it made a lot of sense. The ending, with Claire and the Doctor running into the TARDIS for another adventure, was the right way to end it. I can't wait to see what Series 9 has in store for us. I'll wrap it up here, looking forward to hearing everyone's thoughts on this Christmas special. Holly from Wisconsin.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you, Holly.
And next up is Keith. Keith writes, comment question, just testing since we haven't gotten a lot of feedback. Yeah, I'm sorry. I see those every once in a while when you test them.
I gotta check.
I just thought I had to read that one out this time because I think they're funny. Just checking. We haven't got a lot of feedback yet. Making sure we're still working.
I always get a little worried
Well,
when we get some audio,
especially
we've had some issues before,
and especially on a new server too, because
Yes,
it's
I
not
don't
as
know our capacity
it's
yet.
not as easy to call up the old IT guy and go, "Is your server down?" Because now our old IT guy is some corporation somewhere. Our IT guy would probably still help us out, but actually does still help us out. But,
Yeah.
actually, next up is Chrissy.
Yes.
If I'm correct. Okay. Chrissy writes, Christmasception. Dear Vortex boys, I'm going to be 100% honest. I have not seen Inception.
What?
Yeah, I was waiting for that. But I think
I knew she was waiting for it, so I got it out of the way.
But I think I know enough about it to get any number of in-jokes about dreams and such that anyone wants to make. And before anyone starts in on me about that, it was just one of those movies I never got around to seeing. Life gets in the way. What do you want from me? I hope everyone had a nice Christmas. Mine was pretty good. I got some cool stuff. Plus, I got to spend a few days watching movies and catching up on some TV shows with my family. Oh, and yes, you all really should watch Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra. In that order, obviously. Not to spoil anything, but I was pleased with how the finale of Korra turned out. Not just because the one ending scene that everyone seems to be fixated on, though that was fine, but because it was an overall great way to close out a series that spent 10 years building a wonderful and imaginative world and characters that I grew to love and adore. The writing has always been top-notch, as has the acting and animation. Even the weakest episodes are considered high quality. The creators kind of got jerked around by the network, so I was a little worried that it might have some effect on the final product, but everything turned out great. All the major characters got closure, but in such a way that the story could be revisited in graphic novels later if they chose to go that route, which they have done with the first Avatar series. Those are really good too. There were even some plot twists that came in the last 3 or 4 episodes that I wasn't looking for, but that I completely loved that they got the ending that they did. Sorry to be vague, but I don't want to give anything away. Just ask me about it when you've finished the series, though if anyone checks my Tumblr regularly, you probably can guess what I'm talking about. I'll stay away from her Tumblr because I'm getting ready to start. Anyway, yes, watch the series. Watch it on your own. Watch it with your kids. Watch it with whoever. Just watch it. It's one of the absolute best animated shows on TV from the past 20 years. Everyone I know who's watched it loves it, and I expect even more people will watch it and love it as well. Oh, right, Doctor Who stuff. Let's see. We had a Christmas episode. Last Christmas, I gave you my heart, but the
Very next day, you gave it away.
She didn't write that, but we had to do it. We've had Don't Blink, Don't Breathe, Don't Forget, and now we have Don't Think. I'm not even going to ask what Moffat's big scare thing is going to be next time. All kidding aside, this
Don't
really...
taste. Taste and you're dead. But doctor, we're at a dinner party. I know.
All kidding aside, this really is a great ending to Series 8. At the end of Death in Heaven, Santa Claus came in proclaiming the story can't end like that. And indeed, Santa delivered on that promise. All those emotional loose ends got tied up in this story. We wanted the Doctor and Clara to be honest with each other about Gallifrey and about Danny, and we got that. We even got one last heartfelt goodbye from Danny Pink. His appearance surprised me, but it was something that we needed to see. The writing was fast-paced, but not so much that I couldn't keep up with what was going on. And while the sci-fi plot of the dream crab alien things was scary and action-y enough, the story was more about mending the Doctor and Clara's friendship and ultimately getting Clara back on the TARDIS, which I am so happy Jenna Coleman is going to be back. Regardless of any kind of doubts she had or any back and forth that was going on, I'm glad that she feels like there are more stories to tell with Clara or Oswald because I want to see those stories. I think Last Christmas did for Peter Capaldi what A Christmas Carol did for Matt Smith. There was a fun story, yes, but there was also some great emotional resonance that fit well with the Doctor's personality and helped him grow as a character. I think we'll see some of that in the next year in Series 9. 12 will still be spiky and abrasive, probably, but there will be an added layer of softness to that. It'll be interesting to see where this Team TARDIS ends up after all this. That's all I've got until next year. Enjoy the rest of the holiday, and I'll see you later. Chrissy. P.S. I loved your surprise Christmas side trip, though I'm having a hard time remembering the first one you guys did. I do vaguely remember a commentary, but I'm fuzzy on the details. Well, Chrissy, we're fuzzy on those details as well.
Well, it was a commentary to Christmas Carol, wasn't it?
It was a commentary.
It was, yeah.
I don't think there were many details in it.
We don't know what we said
about it, but
Chrissy, I got a question for you. No pressure or anything, just because obviously we've had the holidays and there's been a lot of different things going on. But I was curious to know if we'd had an update on the Goodreads website for what the January book is going to be. I don't have an update anyway since Apollo 13.
We didn't have.
We didn't do one in December.
Book.
yeah. He's asking because he's still got a few more weeks off of school.
Yeah.
He's looking for something to read.
I'm looking to jump in on something. So
maybe in February or whenever we get
was there a
Engines of
vote?
War.
Was there options for what we could be reading?
a poll. Let me click. Maybe. Well, what should we
It's a
read
tie-
in December was a tie between Engines of War and the Pirate Loop.
Are we reviewing Engines of War this month?
Not this month.
February.
That was what we discussed.
Okay, so since there's a tie, I vote that we read what was the other one?
Pirate Loop.
Pirate Loop first in January, and then Engines of War in February.
Yeah.
Then everybody will be up to speed.
Okay, so we're apparently
We're making that decision.
We're taking a
Chrissy,
parent decree.
we're making a decree that if
We're gonna
indeed you hadn't
review.
already decided on this.
we're going to review Engines of War in February on the podcast. So that
Apparently, I think we
That's what we
decided on
discussed.
that. Poor
Okay.
Sean, his memory is just
Because
going.
of Galley.
right. Oh, that's
He's
right. I'm
got-
going to be gone, so you guys need a book to review.
Sean has a mind like a steel sieve.
It just nothing comes through.
No, everything goes through. It doesn't hold anything.
A steel trap. It just the trap doesn't open.
No, it does. No, it
I was trying to dupe people into thinking I was going to say steel trap, but it's
it's a sieve. It all goes in. Everything goes in. Mountains and volumes of information goes in, and
Just
none
the
of
large chunks there.
none of it stays.
just the large chunks stay, which don't include us doing our reviews of the last Hobbit
Pretty
movie,
much anything Glenn says.
and the fact that we're going to review Engines of War and anything that Glenn says. Very good. All right, is that it?
So Engines of War in February. So pick something else for January.
Well, the other one. The one
Pirate
that's
Loop.
I guess Pirate. Well, that'll work. That way the poll, you don't have to set up
That'll
another
work.
poll
Yeah,
and all
no,
that.
it's
It's already taken. So we're going to do Pirate Loop in January.
We've just made a decree. Poor girl's done a great job of managing our book club and doing wonderful things with it, and we've been very hands off until now. By gosh, this is what we're doing.
I think she'll be okay with it.
It's 3:00 on January 2nd. I need a decision.
All right, let's do our review.
Was that it for feedback?
That was it for feedback.
I didn't get to read anything. Oh no, I did read something.
You read
God, my brain.
Did we talk about our lanyards so we got Keith?
We discussed it shortly.
I couldn't- see, I got-
We didn't go into details
I got
about them.
a sieve. Mine's had smaller holes. But
The Doctor and Clara face their last Christmas, trapped on an Arctic base, under attack from terrifying creatures. Who you gonna call? Santa Claus.
Dun dun dun.
oh, he wasn't as enthusiastic as I.
Mine was not quite as enthusiastic.
I've watched this 3 times.
I watched it twice. I thoroughly enjoyed this.
I did too.
I had a blast.
It did a lot of things I didn't expect it to do.
Yes, this was nothing what I.
I didn't know what I expected to begin with.
I don't either, but that was nothing what I would have thought I would have expected.
Whew. And it surprised me. Even after we got to a point, I was like, oh, well, I knew something was going to happen. I knew Clara was going to stay on, because I saw the headline at work, because unfortunately I was at work during Christmas. So I can't avoid Facebook entirely.
We've already blamed Sean for that.
And
Huh? What?
but there was so much stuff that surprised me in it, including the fact that the entire thing was a dream from the beginning. I kid you not, they went through it and they got to a point where they determine that they've been in dreams and had the crab things on their heads since the Doctor arrived, pretty much.
Right.
And it wasn't until shortly after that it dawned on me, only probably a minute or two before it occurs to Clara,
Well,
about Santa.
They hadn't quite established the fact that the 4 of them were the ones under the
4 manuals,
yeah.
4 of you.
Yeah, they hadn't established that yet before
Well,
Clara
no.
brought up the Santa Claus thing.
Am I remembering this wrong?
Maybe I'm remembering it wrong.
Because it was okay. Clara first, in the order that we realize things are a dream.
Oh no, you're right.
Clara
it was.
first,
It was. You're
Clara
right.
and the
No, you're
Doctor
right.
and Clara's
They
dream.
They
And then
revealed
the
that the
4 of
first
them,
time they came
because
outside, and then they
it
went
was
back inside.
The
Yeah.
things.
You're right.
Yeah, it was it was like a minute or two before the outside scene with them going to leave, and I've deleted you all already.
Yeah. That's right. You're right. You're absolutely right.
That I thought to myself, well, wait, what about Santa? How does that work? And then they lay that bomb on you, and it just kind of blew me away. And I was rather impressed that I was only a few minutes ahead of that. Because Clara brings up the point of, well, if it was all a dream,
Well, but
Santa was.
I'm going to backtrack here though, real quick, because they hadn't determined that the 4 that were in the beds were the same 4. They
No,
had
no,
determined.
they hadn't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they had
they had not
determined
determined
that,
that.
they,
It
that they
was-
were in a dream at that point.
Yeah, it was.
But they didn't realize
The
they were
amount of
still in a
levels
dream.
of the dreams in a
Oh,
dream
my.
in a dream I did not expect.
Dreamception.
And then
Up to and including the end of Death in Heaven.
Yeah, exactly. And then it even continued, because I saw the headline that Jenna Coleman's staying for Series 9, and I kind of took it with a grain of salt. I kind of thought, well, maybe they're just making up stuff and because they can. And it got to the old scene, and I thought, oh, or is it going to be an old Clara that's coming along, or was that article wrong? It honestly didn't even fully occur to me that, well, wait, this is also a dream.
Yeah.
Until until Santa shows up again.
See, and
saves the day. And
two things I want to talk about, because you brought 2 things up I was going to bring up. It wasn't. This is how Caitlin's mind works. I hadn't considered the fact that we had already been introduced to Santa before they even got to the base. I knew that happened, but it didn't occur to me until they were walking outside, as you were pointing out. It didn't even occur to me then. And the 12th Doctor's kind of wiping his hands of it. They'll be fine. And as he's walking to the TARDIS, Caitlin goes, wait a minute, Santa was there long before any of this, before he figured out they were in a dream. And I went, and that's when Clara realized it. And I looked at Caitlin and I said, good for you.
So she probably formed the thought at the same time as I did.
She figured it out. Yeah, she figured it out right before Clara dropped that bomb, and I went, oh.
But my mind never went to, it's just another dream inside a dream. It went to, well, how are they going to work that? For some reason, my mind didn't.
I think Caitlin had it figured out. I think because she goes, now wait a minute, Santa was already. I mean, she said it in such a way that this is still a dream, But on the old thing too. Now I had not seen the
spoiler.
I did not see the spoiler beforehand, and so when I saw that coming. When I saw that happen and she was old, my first thought was, okay, so
done.
She is done. This is how they're going to end this. And then, of course, we get the next
I wonder if there were an alternate ending in case she decided she didn't want to come back.
It makes me wonder that, and again, I haven't read that article even since that's been posted. I don't know. There's been some talk about some behind-the-scenes.
She was hemming and hawing.
Moffat commented that there was a lot of back and forth.
And so I think he had already had this written and then tacked on the ending when she decided she was staying, and so made it one. I mean, and a perfect story to do that in. When you've already layered dream on dream on dream,
you can
only have to
layer
one more dream.
Yeah.
So now, that being said, presuming that, speculating that felt almost a little unnecessary. Once the old Clara was there. And then we woke up and it was young Clara. It seemed kind of like a cheat to me. It was like
I kind of felt that way too. I would have been okay with her being if
I like the moment
she was old and that's it.
Yeah, I liked the moment because he helped her with the cracker as she helped him with the cracker in Time of the Doctor, and visited him when he was very old. And so I appreciated that moment. But I think once Moffat found out that Jenna was staying, I think he should have excised that piece from the story. It should have either been him coming back when she was old and him regretting that he didn't visit enough or visit again until much later, and that be the end of Clara, or not the end of Clara, but the end of Clara's story, or he should have excised that and just had them wake up and she decided that they'd gone through enough and rebuilt their friendship.
See, I'm of two minds of this because I agree with you there, but I also it gives a nice additional push for Clara to decide to go back with the Doctor.
I can see that.
Realizing
how much she missed.
Yes, and
I can see
the
that.
life she would have had if she didn't go with the Doctor more. So it's kind of I'm of two minds.
It kind of gives her a second chance.
In addition
I go both
to
ways
the
on it
beginning,
too.
I can
miss
see
the
that.
sound.
I can see that, Keith.
More of a motivation to yes, I'm going to go do this. I'm not going to get to do this again.
Yeah, I go both ways on it too because the scene itself I loved. It was so poignant, and for me it wasn't so much what she missed out on, but it softened the Doctor.
Yeah.
That they had that moment, and then the reverse of that, the follow scene when she asks him, "Am I still old?" and he says, "I don't know. You're Clara."
Well,
I loved that because
I had a little bit of problem with that.
It kind of goes back to
I like
he's human blind in
Yeah.
a way.
Well, yeah, because
I'm
he's
fine
been
with-
kind of critical almost of her appearance through the whole season, but then you realize that it's not so much the fact that he's criticizing her with that one line. For me, it retroactively fixed everything because it's not that he's being critical; it's that
he's being that's his
he's
observation.
being observant
Yeah.
that she's changing her appearance again, and she doesn't need to because this is how he
Well,
sees
and
her.
what helps is that line before, when she's old, do I really look no different to you? No, you'll always look the same to me.
You'll always
that
look the
was
same to me.
appropriate, and that was a wonderful moment.
And that's why
now,
I don't know also works better
See,
in the story itself.
but
is
the
because
problem that I have by
sees her the same.
The problem I have with that, and I agree with you on the level that number one, that it was also the Doctor realizing that he had missed time with her.
Yeah.
But I also my one little niggle with this was the fact that she makes that comment and it makes her sound so vain. And that bugged me. I thought,
see, and
you
I
shouldn't.
Claire's always
there
vain.
shouldn't have been that regret from her. There should have been that regret of missed time. But it comes across as, oh my gosh, I'm not old anymore, am I? And that bothered me just a little bit.
It didn't
in
come
the
across,
context that you're saying it works, but
Yeah,
to me it came across more of a. Did we really miss these 62 years, or do I get a second chance?
I would rather
That's
have
what that
said
line
that, though.
Yeah.
I wish she would have said.
She could have said,
instead of or do I look young, or do I look?
Am I old?
Am I old? I would have
unfortunately,
preferred.
that's just a shorthand that helped keep the script
I would
down.
have. I would have preferred the. Do we still have time? I would have preferred that. That would have worked.
But to be fair, if she would have said that as old, he could have. He still
No,
probably
I
would have
don't want
taken
her
her.
to say it as old.
But,
I wanted her to
but
say
if she would have, he still probably would have taken her on a trip or something.
Well,
Of course, there's time.
Sure,
Clara.
but she was still kind of.
time machine.
She was kind of. I mean, she was. She was at least grounded in the reality that she had lived a long life, that she was too old to travel now. She was already grounded in that. So even if he had taken her on a trip, I think she recognized
she wasn't
that she was beyond
able
her age.
enough.
Yeah,
her adventuring was over.
right.
but-
her
And maybe
adventure
that's
was
what the line meant for. Am I old? Was
I think it
from the
did.
standpoint
That's the
more of I
delivery-
can't keep up with you.
But the delivery just came across as vanity, and I wish that could have been fixed.
But again, even if it was pure vanity, that's part of who Clara is. And I don't mean that as a
she's
knock.
ever come across vain.
I think so.
In fact, she got upset at Vastra when Vastra was calling her out on the doctor's being vain about the doctor.
Yeah.
Just kind of the reverse of that.
But there were all those moments in that about even Strax when he was, analyzing her about her, that's how she is. That she's got those things set up. And
But that's
Moffat
gonna be
even
a
said
natural-
this.
that's gonna be
Was
a
it this
natural
week?
defense, though.
That Moffat came out with the statement. He says the problem with Clara is that Clara thinks that the show is called Clara. That's not a knock on her.
I agree
that's
with that.
just how her
But
mentality
I don't know
works.
I don't think that's vanity. I think that's more self-awareness or self-consciousness.
Yeah,
or so,
maybe, but-
and that's not even self-conscious, self-assurance. I mean, that's a little different than external vanity. That's more of an internal power. I mean,
Yeah.
she is a
If she'd asked, "Am I still beautiful?" That would have been
That would have been worse.
That would have
Yeah,
been really
agreed,
over the top.
agreed.
But I just the old scene for me really is kind of almost encapsulating of all the simultaneous things that worked and didn't with this episode for me. It was beautiful and it was poignant and I loved it and it bookended so nicely. And if this had been the swan song, if Jenna Coleman had been leaving, and this was it, it's a perfect send off for Clara. Leave it alone. It's just yet another in a line of missed opportunities that they've both come to regret, and that they were going to get this moment. But it parallels the first moments, just kind of like we both get. It parallels the last moments with the 11th and his last moments with her, just like we got kind of the beginning of the Ponds at the end of 11, and it's just another Moffat.
Right.
Bringing it back on itself, and it was beautiful.
A Moffat loop.
And that moment when she asks him that, and he says, "I don't know, you just look like Clara." Like I said, that retroed so much of the little stuff, and it was kind of just another little insight into how this doctor sees things, and that was awesome.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
But then by the fact that, and even I found myself going, okay, so how are you going to fix this? We're going to time travel. We're going to go back in the TARDIS and fix it. And I'm working on the solution to the problem already. And it just played out. I'm like, this is it. This is how they're going to end it.
I thought the same thing.
Oh, this is so beautiful. And then I thought about that article and went, wait a minute, I know she's coming back next season. You're going to have to fix this. Oh, and then they woke up and there was another dream with it because Santa showed back up. I was like, so then you're right. We have what almost feels like a forced tacked on. Now I have to rewrite this beautiful ending of mine so that I can keep things going. And it's frustrating from that regard.
Yeah.
There were so many of those kinds of things. Santa's a great example. I love the fact that we kept it ambiguous. I love the fact that he's a dream figment. And yet there's the orange at the end of the thing.
That's the ambiguity.
Yeah.
Because I think
You
as
don't know.
you start to discover what's going on, and they start to draw the correlation of the fact that that is the subconscious. Everybody relates to Santa Claus. It's Christmas Eve. Of course, everybody's going to think Santa's going to save the day. As they expound on that and they kind of dispel the idea that Santa Claus is actually real, the nice moment is at the end, which is, to me, reminiscent of the cane at the end of Miracle on 34th Street that is left there because the parents still presume, well, we bought this house, but there's still that moment of what's the little girl's name?
Susan.
Is it Susan?
Yeah.
Susan says, she is now full blown convinced that was Santa Claus, and he gave her wish, and that's that moment that kind of cements that in there as well. For that is, Santa does exist,
Except that was on the list, so now all of a sudden it kind of calls back into, is it a dream or not?
Well, that was another thing that Caitlin and her cleverness went, well, if that tangerine's there, are we still in a dream? That set me up. Well, no, and it don't. That sets me up to something that I will be so mad if we get Bobby stepping out of the shower at the end of series 9 because Moffat realized, hey, look what I did. I devised a very clever way to fool everybody and really kind of mess with everybody's heads because he's a troll. Mess with everybody's heads through series 9 and then go, oh, but they were still in a dream. Don't do that to us, Moffat. That would be the biggest piece of junk thing to do to anybody. I hope he doesn't go that way.
In the history
of trolling. That would be the troll of trolls.
Now it would almost be worth him pulling that off, just so that it would be the
troll of trolls.
And take
of
2
trolls.
seasons.
Me off
wait
so
for
bad.
him to regenerate. Wait a couple more seasons. Then get the reveal.
Here's why.
That's how you can give us a female doctor without the fanboys going too crazy.
Here's why.
And then it turns out it was all a guy. That would that would
5 years down the line.
it would destroy everything as we know
Now
it.
here's why I think we needed to wait on Phil, on Odd Duck Phil's about a question about Santa Claus. He postulated this question on December 24th before the special had come out.
Mm-hmm.
So he was asking that question pre the revelation, and us answering the question post revelation does not do it justice because of the fact that they
the line.
cleverly gave us that. Now, the ambiguity aside of the end of the episode, we really have this. They really unraveled that and explained why Santa Claus existed within this story, and it makes sense. And you can bring that back into the reality of things. Sorry, any kids that are listening, that Santa was merely a figment of their dream state, and so it worked so well. So pulling or setting aside our reviews for our Christmas special with the doctor meeting Santa before, and I was actually glad that he didn't have to say anything because this was a different situation.
But that's part of the tragedy of it. Is while I loved the fact that they kept the ambiguity there, I wanted Santa. I wanted the doctor to meet Santa, and I feel like we didn't get that yet.
Well,
Although I do feel like him having a clone, essentially, or there's 2 of him, was a callback to one of those novels.
I looked for that the second time, and he just. I still to choose to believe that, but he says 2 sleigh teams. He didn't necessarily say 2 of me.
Yeah, he says 2 sleigh teams.
So I want to take away the fact that was a callback to the cloning idea.
I think I just
but
automatically
I think they
my
left
brain
that
went there
open
because
enough
of it.
that they didn't cement the idea that he had a clone that could do something else or do other things.
I love the fact. I know a lot of people are kind of dogging on the whole. Well, but they ripped off Alien, and then they called attention to the fact that they ripped off. It's
That's
like
what's
no.
brilliant about it.
The fact that they called attention to the fact they were doing it is what made it work.
To it, I'd have gone, oh, that was a total ripoff.
Well,
when they said, hey, look, this is what we're talking dreams, we're talking subconscious, we're talking all of this, and we're showing a list in reality when Shona wakes up. And I went, bingo, that perfectly puts the bow on top of
just
why
because
all of
it's
this
a
was
face
happening.
hugger doesn't mean it's a ripoff. The ideas behind these things are completely different from the
Well,
ideas from the face
It
huggers
was
and
a
Alien.
ripoff. I'm perfectly willing to say
I don't think
it was a ripoff. This was a ripoff.
The design, maybe.
No. This was
It was a face hugger.
This was a ripoff.
But the facehuggers didn't do
No,
this.
you don't have to defend it because that list at the end of the episode, near the end of the episode, when Shona wakes up, is the exact answer to why it's a ripoff. You don't have to defend it. It's not. Nobody. Everybody out there is saying, "Oh, it was a total ripoff." Yeah, you're absolutely right. But it was brilliant ripoff.
Aside from the fact of the creatures still exist outside the dreams, the thing. But
we don't know what they look like outside. Well, yeah, we do because
it's still the face hugger.
Yeah, it's still a face hugger. But the fact
everything
not
else
even,
is
not
is
even
a
the
nod.
list. I agree with you. The list is brilliant. A way of because you look at her list.
Especially the thing.
Even Miracle on 34th Street being the last thing on
Everything on that list is in this episode. It's and there it is. But the fact that they look like face huggers, they act like face huggers, and they drill into your brain instead of down in your throat. It's a face hugger. And the guy says, "Oh, it's like a face hugger from that movie Alien."
Yeah.
You've now fixed all the problems that I have with this
That was
because you
right
are
along the same
associating
lines.
this
You are
with
so
a
right.
real world.
You're so right.
Yeah. I'm okay with that.
And you're right. It wasn't the exact same thing.
That's why I don't think it's a ripoff.
And
It's an homage. It's a design tribute.
Yeah, exactly. And one of our friends online, Ben Buckles, he was commenting to that he didn't like it because he felt like it was a ripoff, and I thought, no, that's not why you're not supposed to like it. You're supposed to like it for any other reason but that, because that was actually explained and addressed, and so.
And a great line that we got out.
Wonderful line. Just the and the more absurd that Santa got.
I loved Santa throughout the entire thing.
Well, that's just it.
I want Nick Frost as Santa more.
I should say, Nick Frost was brilliant. I should say the more absurd that
almost
the Santa,
underutilized.
Yeah, a little bit.
Sadly.
The more absurd that the Santa mythos got, with him talking about the pole, the actual pole, and of course it's striped. The more absurd it got,
it's basic physics.
The more my mind kept getting number and number and number, but in a good way, because I'm going, they're really going here. That's why it was getting, because they used every cliche associated with Santa, because that's all of that's what the mythos of Santa is wrapped up in, and that's what everybody knows about Santa. When you see the images of the North Pole, you see a North Pole striped candy cane like with a little ball on top, and this story was, to me, crafted so well.
There was such a moment of course it spins. It has to spin. It's basic physics, and I'm going. Explain it. And then they didn't. I got sad again. And then she says, "Well, how do you get all this stuff?" It's right. He goes, bigger on the inside. And the doctor even kind of went and did one of these, like over his shoulder, because he's only half listening to that
he
conversation.
Doesn't say doctor, so he says, he looks at the doctor and he goes, "Bigger on the inside." Like, this is your dream. This is part of your dream.
Thanks to you.
Everything that anybody attributed to the Santa mythos from any of the characters in here, the Santa mythos lived up to. That's what makes this so brilliant, is the fact that the clues were all there all along, and they were hidden in plain sight so well that you're pleasantly surprised when everything is figured out. The story's crafted so well.
I think probably one of my absolute favorite moments with Santa in this is when Santa starts going into the scientific spiel. And the doctor goes, no, line in the sand. Santa does not do scientific explanations. And he goes, okay, it's probably all dreamy-weemy.
The interactions between the Doctor and Santa through this whole thing were brilliant.
Because that's what's great also about that line is it's poking fun at Moffat at the same time, because he's the one that coined the weemy aspect.
Sure.
Wimey, weemy, woomany.
Well, and it builds back on the dream aspect structure of it, that the doctor is the doctor is saying no, Santa doesn't do science, which he wouldn't.
No,
the real Santa, that's not something any of us would attribute to Santa. I don't think is scientific genius. No offense, Santa, but that's not part of the mythos. And Santa goes, okay, it's all dreamy weemy. He just gave you the answer. But yeah. Nick Frost was so good as Santa. All of his bits as Santa were just...
I found myself enjoying every time he entered the scene.
I know.
Every time.
And
I kept going, oh, good, thanks, back.
And the times that he wasn't there became such sorely there's no Santa.
It's funny that we keyed on the Frost aspect of Nick Frost and how it associated
Would
with
you
Christmas.
watch the extra?
We didn't even touch on the fact that Santa is Saint Nick.
Yeah, that's why he's the perfect. They joked in the
I
extra
didn't see
that
the extra.
Nick Frost is actually Santa Claus.
I didn't see the extra. That's
Because of his
wonderful.
name. It's
Saint
Nicholas
Nick.
Frost.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, we zeroed in on the Frost aspect of that, and then it just hit me. Wait, Saint Nick.
But that's like I said, like his interactions with the Doctor, every scene, every nuance, every back and forth, were so good. The fact that it was all a dream is such a what
Yeah.
I wanted.
Nah,
I
because
wanted
the
Jeff.
No, because
To see.
the tangerine at the end still leaves open that whole idea that everything that was in the dream still could be there in real life.
Yeah, but I wanted that. There were so many. I liked the fact that structurally we did have that carryover from the events of season 8. That it wasn't just let's go have an adventure.
And we addressed the issues very fast.
We've got drama to clean up.
And we did.
Let's clean it up.
Yeah.
And I liked
and
that.
that scene where he's trying to distract her and she smacks him and everything stops was so powerful.
Yeah.
And so well acted that it kind of it caught my breath.
Yeah.
I just kind of was breathless for a few minutes. while that
But
happened.
again, it was done in such a way that this wasn't the Doctor being callous.
No,
This was
because-
definitely the Doctor trying to point out this is what you need this versus that. You
Yeah.
can't think about
Yeah.
that. You have to think about this. And I'm sorry, but
But unfortunately, because of the situation that with Clara in, she reacted exactly like I expect,
Well,
and had every right to react that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a nice thing to be able to see both sides of
Oh,
that
and the-
ticket,
and the
be
fact
able
that
to
she
go.
didn't-
He was right in everything that he was doing. She was right in the way she reacted.
She didn't carry on being mad at him because
here's the downside to this. I kind of feel like the Christmas specials, in a way, and maybe it's because we watched The Next Doctor, which, man, that's a fun one. I don't know why you don't like giant steampunk Cybermen stomping. I love that story. We laughed
You can
and
have
just
it.
had a great time watching it on Friday Night Who. It was awesome. But I feel like we're losing the spectacle, I think, a little bit of the Christmas special, because Moffat's got such grand plans that he's kind of, and now initially it was warranted.
He's weaving the Christmas specials into the entire narrative, whereas Russell always kind of set them aside as their own
Right.
spectacular.
And-
and even Moffat at the initial Christmas Carol was kind of aside
other
aside
than
from
than the honeymoon aspect
yeah,
of it.
that's the only thing.
Yeah.
But just the fact that we have
Well, you could say the same thing about Widow of the Wardrobe.
Well, that aside from the very end,
Yeah.
that's more to the RTD era.
right.
But just we it started with the snowman, where it really felt like, and admittedly, because that comes in the middle of a season,
yeah.
and we're setting up a new companion, there was business to take care of, and it turns out that business was very important leading up into the 50th anniversary,
right.
and the Christmas special that followed was very important leading out of the 50th anniversary.
Right.
So I get that. I understand bookending that with those.
Well, and it almost
think
feels like
I think-
since Snowman was such important to the overall story, this almost does feel more like a departure for Clara,
Yeah.
like
yeah.
it should have been. And a lot of it's
Here's
handled
something
that
that I
way.
think maybe you guys are subconsciously alluding to, is the fact that when Doctor Who comes on Christmas night, in Russell T Davis's era, the whole family got together and watched Doctor Who. And whether Grandma and Grandpa were watching Doctor Who, or were Doctor Who fans, or watched any other Doctor Who, or whether niece and nephew watched any other Doctor Who, everybody could sit down and watch a Russell T Davis Christmas special and enjoy it, because it was a one-off, it was a single, and there was nothing that you needed to know on either side of the story.
Right.
With Moffat, the way he's crafting things since the Snowman, it almost feels like you are left out, or you're going to miss something if you haven't been connected to the series, and so you sort of lose that whole family, Grandma and Grandpa that doesn't know anything about what's going on, niece and nephew that doesn't know anything that's going on, missing something or feeling left out of the story.
Although ironically, Russell's Christmas specials didn't start that way. think of Christmas Invasion, you
Well,
kind
that's-
of needed
that's
to
certainly
know.
true.
going-
But
a new person could still jump on,
But-
if they were given a slight explanation. in
you're
advance.
absolutely right, and you're 100% right. I think though that the catalyst of that is that the explanation is set up.
It's given throughout the episode. At least.
Well, the explanation is set up and given to you right at the beginning.
Yeah.
We know exactly what has happened, and the ending is sort of that way that we're going to work into. Rose accepts him as this,
Yeah.
but because it's bookended so well and everything in the middle is just a fun romp. Yeah, it's less poignant.
It's
there
less,
than it is-
yes.
Yeah. You're right. Russell did do it first starting off.
But like I said, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I appreciated the fact that we dealt with the baggage and that, hey, we've got this, we need to take care of this. Fantastic. But I was kind of looking forward to just a Christmas episode, and it would be nice to kind of
But
maybe get back to that.
I think
but
as
maybe
lo-
that's not the plan. Maybe
I think as long as Moffat's in charge, I think we're going to see more of that.
well, especially if this had been Claire's swan song.
Yeah.
So maybe the entire thing has been structured for this is it,
This is goodbye.
and then it's not. So that really kind of hampers this individual story.
Right.
Again, we're back to that. I've got to wait till we get to the end to find out how that really would have panned out for this. Because if it ended, if she's gone, and this is the end of the end of the end, I'm fine with this being more inclusive because it wraps up her story arc and it was needed,
Right,
and it's
right.
part of that overall arc that had
but now
started
being
two
a
Christmases ago.
centerpiece to a longer story.
But knowing that this is now
It
going
just
to be
feels like
the
the middle.
more, it just it doesn't have that same poignancy to it. So I'm torn because it's like I liked this, but I kind of wish we'd have gotten that. I liked this, but that would have been cool. This was not so great, but I loved that they did this. So there was just all these little things that are kind of coming together that I liked and didn't at the same time.
yeah.
And don't get me wrong. Overall, yes, I loved it and I really enjoyed it. But there were just these
No, I can
little
see your- I can see your
overhanging
points, yeah.
overhanging things that
They didn't seem to bother me, but I think I looked at since Snowman, because we had Snowman, we had Time of the Doctor, and
Now
we had
this.
Now, and they've all been part of that flowing narrative. I think that just maybe I'm like, okay, this is just another chapter in this story
Because of
ongoing
those
saga.
previous two, I almost would have felt cheated if it wasn't.
Yeah, I
anything
suppose that's
addressed.
probably
Especially
true. Although
if
Sean's
Clara-
right, had Clara ended, that would have been a nice bookend to the
Yes,
three. So
exactly.
yeah.
Would
Anyway.
you? I think we need to discuss the other people.
Oh, Shona. Gosh, she was my favorite. And
I started off not liking her, and then by the end of it, I thought she was great.
I had a fixation with her. I'm sorry, I'll say it right now. I loved every I loved every aspect of Shona. I loved her attitude. I loved how spiky she was.
She felt like
I
somebody
liked
off of
how
Misfits.
cynic she. Yeah,
Yeah, a little bit.
I liked how cynical she was. I liked that she walked into that room and
And then-
they played the music and she started dancing and I went, oh yeah, I
think
like
that's
this
when I
girl
liked.
a
That's when I
lot.
started liking her.
I
But everybody else was wonderful too. I
Yeah.
liked the gal that was in charge, the scientific woman who ends up is in a wheelchair at the end. That was so brilliant. It was very passionate. I mean, it was just
Yeah.
what a moment. Everybody kind of got something, even though they were in the middle of this horror story. Everybody got a little something out of that too. I mean, the poor guy that died, unfortunately, he woke up dead somewhere. according to
Michael
what I read.
Troughton, who did a really good job,
Yeah.
and
He was eating that turkey leg.
maybe
And the
because
doctor made that
maybe
comment.
because who I knew it was, his first line sounded very much like Troughton's voice, didn't it?
Yeah.
The way he inflected at the end,
Yeah.
saying Shona sounded just like his father.
Yeah.
I want Shona in the TARDIS. I sign her up
I
as
do
the
too.
next.
I
Figure
got
out
this-
a way to
I
get
got
that to
this,
happen.
I got this moment of I had to look on the table and see. On the coffee table, I watched very poignant the second time because I wondered if Shona was at the end of her list, and this was kind of her. I'm going to watch these movies, and then that'll be the end. I mean, the end.
Oh.
And I wondered if there was like pills or something, and that because she said she was going to give what's his name, give David a second chance or something, and then she checked that off, and so it was
It
almost
was
like
Forgive Dave.
Forgive
Forgive
me. That's what
Dave,
it was.
yeah.
And it was almost like her. That was kind of her. I get the impression that there was something rough happened between her and Dave, and they had split up, and she was very depressed. And I didn't want them to go a step further, but I almost looked to see if there was more of an implication that she was so distraught by that she had considered offing herself.
I actually took it the other way. That when they show the list and and then forget Dave, and she check marks it, or forget Dave, forgive Dave, that she check marks it. I took that to mean that she felt like maybe because of the dream, she was bypassing everything else. She's going to go pick up the phone and call him right now.
Oh, I got the
could
impression,
see
but
that,
everything
yeah.
else was checked, wasn't it?
No, nothing was
Oh,
checked.
nothing
That
was checked
the
on
first
the
thing that
list.
she checked.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay,
you know, and
yeah.
so that
Works
kind
that
of,
way.
you know, because maybe she's spending Christmas alone
Well, she'd
with
already-
these
she
movies
had already
because
li-
she's not with Dave.
She had
you
already
know.
lived through all those movies, so there
Right,
was
so
no
maybe,
need to watch
maybe
them.
so I went with the hopeful
Except-
ending. That's like,
except for the
yay.
Thrones marathon.
I do like, yeah, well, she wasn't, she wasn't going to get through that on Christmas Day, that's for sure. But all the supporting cast in this was wonderful. Dan Starkey was wonderful. I forget the other actor's name, but they were wonderful.
Nathan McCullen.
I kept reading too that they were really they were almost rude and snarky to Santa, but I didn't really get that impression. They almost had a reverence, but more of a we're hiding our reverence behind some comments. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
just got that
Yeah.
impression that because Santa's got all badass. You know, I was like, wow, they actually are impressed with Santa, and he kept telling shut up, because
Calm down.
Calm down.
They're like they're not employees. They're like best friends that
Right,
you're all
yeah,
out on a
yeah,
beer run
That's
with.
what it
You know,
felt like.
that's what it felt like.
I thoroughly enjoyed that interaction between all of them as well.
I still think
They were chiding him a bit on the roof when he ran the reindeer into the. He landed the sleigh wrong. We saw this in the clip, but all the reindeer flying around, they're loose. It was. I was so.
I almost thought that the TARDIS was already there the first time because there's an angle of Clara where she's standing there and there's some sort of boxy window behind her, and it almost looks like the TARDIS windows are there. And I went, the TARDIS is already on. Oh, Santa and the TARDIS midair collided. That's why the reindeer are flying up.
That actually might have been
That would
clever
have
too.
been, yeah.
You know, that's what caused that, and that's why he's like in. Oh God, where was I? Oh, Danny. Who thought we were going to see Danny show up?
No idea.
Complete surprise.
Complete surprise.
Just all of a sudden, oh wow, hey, Danny's here. Awesome. Oh, but this is going to end badly. I know where we got to go with this.
I think this is even a better goodbye for Danny than we got in Death in Heaven. With the, I didn't save the world, I saved Clara. The rest of you got lucky.
Yeah.
And then his speech to her about 5 minutes a day, so good.
Because as much as I liked Death in Heaven, and as much as I admired where they went with Danny, you never really got that last moment with Danny that Clara really deserved.
Yeah.
And she got that here.
She got that
and even
here.
though it wasn't really Danny, it was just as much of a real Danny as it had to be. It was
Just a fraction taller.
my God.
Which leads credence to this probably was going to be the swan song.
Yeah.
You know,
it really
argument.
does.
And here's what I'm worried about is if we can craft season 9 in such a way so that Clara is a genuine companion, doing genuine companion things, and we're having archers and going off and doing stuff. Fantastic. I'm on board with her being around for another season. If she continues to wind up being a plot device,
I would agree. I would agree.
I would have rather gone ahead and I hate saying this because I love Jenna Coleman. I really like her, and I really like Clara. But this felt like such a natural beat to end it on, the way everything was structured leading up to it. That
I want Clara.
fascinating to see what
I want the
happens.
Clara we got in Day of the Doctor, where she was not a device. She was
Yes.
She was a true companion.
was a true
Which
companion.
and to be fair to season 8, she wasn't so much a device the way she was in season 7B.
No, you're right.
It was more of emotional beats than anything else.
But I mean, we also had
But
that.
it was a
narrative
narrative,
of,
yes.
she was part of the narrative of the Danny and
her relationship.
her relationship
and the
with
wedge
Danny
that-
was
that
as
sort
much
being
of a-
driven between her and the Doctor.
exactly. It was as much of
Yeah.
her relationship with Danny as it was her relationship with the Doctor that was being explored. And don't get me wrong, that was
worked.
fascinating stuff
And
to
I-
watch.
I
And I
thoroughly
agree with
enjoyed
you
that.
about how
Which
different
is a
it
nice
was to
change
see
of
that.
pace from a mystery.
Yeah.
This woman's impossible,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera.
But at the same time, it's almost like we could have had the Impossible Girl and then had somebody else that was there's this wedge being driven between the two of them, and both of them could have had other companion-y type stuff to do. You know what I mean? It's just it's unfortunate that we're getting such really interesting storytelling all kind of lumped into the same person who's not being given a chance to do
Yes.
normal companion thing. And I say normal companion thing, but
Yeah.
you guys know what I mean by that.
And I completely agree with, and I completely agree with what Chrissy said about how I think that we have now changed the Doctor for the better in this
Yeah.
one. I think that we've gotten over the hump. I hope that he is still spiky and a bit prickly, and has that very what am I
Scottish
looking for?
air to him.
Well, yeah. No, there you go. That'll work. Let's go with that. But,
Dwarf-like.
but has more warmth and has more friendship with Clara.
The scene with him driving the sleigh is
yeah.
the cherry on the top of the that was I needed that moment
because early on
to
when he
see
says
him just
holding hands, we don't really need to hold. Oh, okay.
I'll hold
accept
Clara's
it.
hand,
I'll hold
but-
Clara's hand, and then she goes, "Shona, take his hand," and Shona takes his hand. Okay, so and that was another one of those. That's 12. But when she hugs him from behind, she's always believed in Santa Claus and hugs him. That was one of those, and he doesn't. He stiffens up a bit, but he doesn't resist. He just kind of relaxed.
Yeah.
That was that moment when I went, okay.
Yeah.
there's the warmth. That's just the amount of warmth that the Doctor needed.
and just another fantastic line to acknowledge, harkening all the way back to Verity Lambert's description of him that he's part Santa Claus. And she says
about that.
he's just looked a little different to me, and then the hug comes in, and it's like, oh yay! So,
I'd forgotten.
And that's slightly meta, because I think most fans, the Doctor is Santa Claus.
Yeah. Cool.
one brings me presents, one brings me adventure.
See?
Yeah,
One visits a bit more frequently.
depending on who you are.
So maybe Santa is a Time Lord. Indeed.
Phil hit upon that, and I have to say, I really suddenly began to go, we've had all these memes about Mary Poppins, but nobody has put out something that said Santa is a Time Lord yet.
I've seen some.
Have there?
Too.
Yeah.
Well, they talk about his bag.
Yeah.
Transcendental
I think
bags.
Santa's a Time Lord.
They don't point
All
out
right.
the differences. in
Anything
appearance.
else you guys want to talk about in Last Christmas?
I
Gave you my heart, the very next day you gave it away. Why do we all sing like this on that part? I don't know.
Oh my gosh, this is so much a reflection of that song. This story. Last Christmas, I gave you my heart. She gave her heart to Matt Smith, but then the very next day, you gave it away because when he became the 12th Doctor, she felt so dejected in it. But this year, to save him from tears, I'll give it to someone special. And by the end of this story, the relationship was back, and they had a new relationship, and so she was ready to give her heart to him again. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
I like it.
Nobody else is as astounded by that as I am. All right, never mind.
I did like the I did like the inclusion
I'll buy
of
it.
how
Thanks, Sean.
Of the
Thanks for the
every-
pity buy.
I'll buy that for $1.
the lines of every Christmas is last Christmas. I did think that was nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a great line.
that
Yeah.
was really well.
Yeah,
Another
like I said,
Danny
so
moment.
much right, and then so many. Okay.
There weren't even so many. Okay, there was just a few.
Just a few.
For me, there were a few more than. Don't get me wrong.
obviously,
It's.
I see your points on a lot of.
It
those,
was
too.
still enjoyable.
But-
It just was just enough of a niggling little at the back of my, scratching at the back of my. But what about? Not even a plot hole. It just was a. But I'm not sure I feel about that. That
It was a plot dent.
it was a plot dent,
A plot speed
a
bump.
plot ding.
What do we have coming up on the schedule, Sean?
Well, next week on the schedule, we're going to do the 5th Doctor story, Kinda.
Did you do that in Indian on purpose? And
Kinda?
next week
Kinda.
we'll be visiting Kinda.
Oh, very good. We're going to be doing the Kinda story with that Peter Davison. He's a lovely fellow. He's been on the program several times today. Hey, you kids, get away from the blueberry squishy machine. Merry Christmas. So that's for Friday Night Who, and then we are tentatively still planning on doing 2 audios, which are
Creatures of Beauty, and The Game. Which both also happen to star Peter Davison.
I keep bumping this. This is not a good stand to put this on. From Big Finish.
Actually, I thought it was brilliant until you started bumping it all.
Really?
Yeah. I love the stand.
You thought something I did was brilliant.
Yeah. Well, clearly I was wrong.
Hey, he admitted he was wrong.
You know, Sean, you know why I want you to be a pallbearer at my funeral?
Because I can drop you.
No, so you can let me down one last time. Why don't we just close it from there? Anything else we need to talk about?
Nope.
All right. That's going to do it for this week. Until next week,
I'm Sean.
I'm Keith.
cheers.
Good night, everybody. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Last Christmas I gave you my heart, but the very next day you gave it away. This year, to save me from tears, I'll give it to someone special. Last Christmas I gave you my heart, but the very next day you gave it away. This year, to save me from tears, I'll give it to someone special.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.